Chapter 689. After they left, Chu Xianhua said, Haodong, you've offended your second uncle today. You must be careful of him in the future. He is the most insidious person and he will definitely take revenge on you. It's okay. Don't worry, Mom. Qin Haodong naturally saw Chu Xuanming's dissatisfaction. He had always been a man who would repay kindness with kindness and take revenge with hatred. He would let bygones be bygones for his mother's sake. If this guy continued to make trouble for them, he would not blame him for being righteous. After being tormented by the big families for a day, the sun had already turned to the west and slowly sank below the horizon. After the people of the Chu family left, no one came to visit the Tang sect. After dinner, Qin Haodong gathered the core members of the Tang sect for a meeting. Chu Xianhua and Yi Qing were also among them. Qin Haodong said, from today on, the Tang sect has officially gained a foothold in the capital. But we still need to be clear about what we're going to do in the future. Everyone present was a core member of the Tang sect. He told them everything about the alien demons from the beginning to the end. At the end, he said, according to Master Qiyu, the alien demons are extremely powerful. What we need to do now is to integrate the power of the 7 great families in the capital and help them improve their strength. In the future, we'll fight against the alien demons together. This is the top priority of our Tang sect. Ma Wenhua said, Boss, why don't we wipe out the 7 great families now? It'll be easier after we gather our strength. Nalan Wuxia said, yes, with our current strength, it's not too difficult to wipe out the 7 great families. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, I've also considered this, but if we fight with other families, our strength will inevitably be damaged. Now we have to concentrate all our strength to fight against the alien demons and reduce internal friction as much as possible. In addition, if we don't disclose the news about the alien demons, it'll be difficult for the other families to work together with us. But judging from what happened in the Hmong village in Xiangxi, the alien demons are extremely powerful. They even know the news about the Qiyu forbidden area. They must have spies in the capital. If they know that we've already got the news about the alien demons and made preparations in advance, it will be very disadvantageous for us. So we must keep the news about the alien demons a secret. Only everyone here knows about it. Everyone nodded in unison, thinking that Qin Haodong's words made sense. He continued, now we have to think of a special way to unify the 7 great families without bloodshed and help them improve their strength quietly. Everyone, do you have any good ideas? Hu Shaoxian blinked her big eyes and smiled like a little fox. She said, I have a way to control the 7 great families silently, but I don't know if you can do it. Qin Haodong said, tell me. Hu Shaoxian said, it's easy to control the 7 great families. Just let your own people be the masters. For example, the Qi family. You can help Sister Wan or improve her cultivation to the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm and then let her ascend to the position of the master of the Qi family. The whole Qi family will be under our control. Qin Haodong nodded. It was necessary to improve Qi Weiner's cultivation. He would do it tonight. After improving her cultivation to the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, it would not be difficult for her to ascend to the position of the master of the Qi family. That's a good idea, but we only have Qi Weiner. What about the other 6 families? Hu Shaoxian smiled slyly and said, it's very simple. Today, the Han family, the Wei family and the Zhao family have already come to propose marriage, haven't they? You just need to take those 3 beautiful girls and then turn them into the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. In the same way, the 3 great families will be under your control. Qin Haodong smiled helplessly and said, it's very easy to agree to these 3 marriages. The old foxes of the 3 great families can't wait to send their granddaughters over immediately. But these 3 women are different from Wan. They are not on the same side as us. It's very likely that they are spies. In this case, it's impossible for us to use them, let alone help them improve their cultivation. Not to mention anything else, the double cultivation initiation technique required two people to completely trust each other. Otherwise, if there was a mistake, they would fall into eternal damnation. Hu Shaoxian smiled again and said, "That's why I don't know if you can do it. If you want to completely conquer the hearts of these three girls, it depends on your ability." Yi Qing said, "Little brother, I think you can do it. Look at the girls around you. Which one of them doesn't fall in love with you? I also think my son can do it." Hearing that she was going to marry a few more daughters-in-law, Chu Xianyue said with a smile, "Son, don't be burdened. In fact, it's good to marry a few more daughters-in-law. In the future, they can give me more grandchildren. It's a good thing to have more children." Qin Haodong shook his head secretly. His mother was too deeply influenced by the ideas of the aristocratic families. All she wanted was to find more daughters-in-law and have more grandchildren. But after thinking about it, he felt that Hu Xiaoxian's idea seemed to be really feasible. As long as he controlled Wei Yanran, Zhao Qingwu, and Han Jieyu, he would indirectly control the three great families. This method was much easier than other methods. As for how to conquer the three girls, he did not pay much attention to it. From the beginning to the present, the women around him were all pursuing him. If he took the initiative to pursue a girl, with the ability of Emperor Greenwood, no woman could resist him. The only problem now was that he was afraid that the other women around him would not agree. Naylan Wushuang said, "I also think that Xiaoxian's idea is good." Feng Wu nodded and said, "I agree." The other girls also expressed their opinions. Chu Xianyue said happily, "That's great, son. Now everyone agrees. Let's see if you can get those three girls back for me." Qin Haodong did not answer directly. He said, "Even if we count the three great families, only 4 are under our control. There are still 3 other families." Hu Shaoxian looked at him and said, "As for the remaining 3 great families, do you still need me to tell you what's going on with the Yan family?" Qin Haodong looked embarrassed and immediately understood that Hu Shaoxian was referring to Yan Feifei. Yan Feifei was already a level 9 Supreme Power Master and an elder of the Yan family. Her status in the Yan family was extremely high. As long as Yan Feifei was under his control, he would be able to control the Yan family. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "Let's not talk about the Yan family. There are still the other 2 great families." The others were confused by his and Hu Xiaoxian's riddle, but they did not dare to ask further. Chu Xianyue was counting the number of daughters-in-law with her fingers and did not care about what they said at all. If one day she knew that Yan Feifei had also become her daughter-in-law, how would she feel? Qin Haodong added, "Whether I admit it or not, in terms of blood relations, the Chu family and the Qin family are my direct relatives. So Xiaoxian's method will definitely not work here. We have to find another way." At this time, Chu Xianyue finished checking the number of daughters-in-law. When she heard about the Chu family, she raised her head and said, "I think the Chu family is relatively simple. Your uncle is a good person and he is also close to us. As long as we send him to the position of the family master, it will be equivalent to controlling the Chu family." Qin Haodong thought for a moment. Chu Xuanli was now the eldest son of the second generation of the Chu family and the only level 8 Supreme Power Master under the 2 great elders. If he was promoted to the level 9 Supreme Power Master, it would be a sure thing for him to inherit the family throne. "Mom, let's do as you say. When uncle sends my cousin and my cousin over tomorrow, we will give them more resources to help them improve their cultivation. It can also strengthen uncle's reputation. I will give him more spirit culturing pills. I believe it is only a matter of time before he reaches the level 9 Supreme Power Master." Chu Xianyue was very satisfied with her son's attitude. She nodded and said, "Now there is only the Qin family left. In fact, it is easy to control the Qin family. As long as you return to the Qin family, it will not be a problem for you to become the family master with your ability. At that time, the 7 great families will be under your control. Qin Haodong shook his head. He did not have a good impression of the Qin family and did not want to be the family master. In fact, the best way to control the Qin family was to let his father come back. As long as Qin Zongheng became the family master, all the problems would be solved. But now there was no news from his father and he did not know when he would hear from him. But it was not a big deal. When the alien demons attacked, he would directly give orders to the Qin family. If the Qin family listened to him, it would be fine. If they did not, he did not mind turning the 7 great families into the 6 great families. After that, they briefly discussed a few more issues and the meeting ended. After the meeting, the other girls returned to their rooms. They were all level 9 Supreme Power Masters and had to seize the time to cultivate and reach the Saint Realm as soon as possible. Qin Haodong asked Yi Qing to stay and asked, "Sister, you have been in the capital for so many years. Do you know the person in charge of the Wuxia Museum?" Yi Qing said, "I happen to have some contacts with the director of the Wuxia Museum. Although I am not very familiar with him, I can still do general things. Tell me, what do you want to do?" "That's great." Qin Haodong said excitedly, "I have a few bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs and I want to donate them to the Wuxia Museum. Can you help me contact them?" He had used up the upper-level spirit stones for the bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs and he did not intend to keep them. He would donate them to the Wuxia government. Yi Qing said in surprise, "How many bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs do you have?" "Brother, are you talking in your sleep?" "Of course not." Qin Haodong said, "I have the dragon, snake, chicken, ox, rabbit and dog heads of the 12 zodiacs. I want to donate them all to the Wuxia Museum." The reason why he decided to donate to the Wuxia Museum was that the other bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs were also displayed in the Wuxia Museum. He had a dragon head in Taiwan and a rabbit head in the Wuxia Museum. However, he would leave it to the experts of the museum to determine which one was real and which one was fake. Anyway, he could donate them. Yi Qing said in surprise, "You have so many bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs. You can donate them openly. I'm afraid the Wuxia government will give you a big reward. Do you still need to ask for help?" Qin Haodong said, "I don't want any reward. There is only one condition. I want to see the other bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs. As long as you meet my condition, I will donate all of them to the Wuxia Museum." His purpose was very simple. He wanted to get the upper-level spirit stones from the other bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs in the Wuxia Museum. With enough upper-level spirit stones, he could break through to the nascent soul realm and improve his cultivation. Yi Qing said, "You have donated so many bronze heads of the 12 zodiacs. This request is too simple. It's not a problem at all. I think the Wuxia Museum will agree." Qin Haodong said excitedly, "That's great. Sister, help me contact them and donate these things as soon as possible." Chapter 690. Yi Qing smiled slyly and said, "I can help you contact them, but you have to promise me one thing." "What is it?" "Sister, just tell me. As long as I can do it, I'll do it." Qin Haodong was extremely eager to collect upper-level spirit stones and then break through to the nascent soul realm. Naturally, he did not care about 1 or 2 conditions from Yi Qing. "Accompany me to a tea party tonight. I'll help you contact the Wuxia Museum tomorrow." "That's easy. No problem." Seeing that Yi Qing just wanted him to accompany her for tea, Qin Haodong agreed without hesitation. In the Yan family, Yan Zicheng stood in front of Yan Fengwu with a livid face. "Grandpa, the Zhao family has gone too far. I already had an engagement with Qinggu, but they broke it and went to Qin Haodong's house to propose marriage for Qinggu. They simply don't take our Yan family seriously." Compared with his grandson, Yan Fengwu was much calmer. "Child, remember, in the eyes of our aristocratic families, the first thing is always interests. In the beginning, the Zhao family united with our Yan family by marriage for interests. Now they broke the engagement with us and proposed marriage to Qin Haodong for interests. There's nothing strange about it. The reason why the Zhao family broke the engagement with us is that Qin Haodong is stronger than our Yan family. Once the marriage is united, they will get more benefits. Yan Zicheng cried, I don't care so much. I only want Zhao Qingwu. No matter what, I will marry her. Yan Fengwu glanced at him with obvious dissatisfaction in his eyes. Child, it's useless to shout slogans. It's okay if you want to marry Zhao Qingwu, but you have to have the strength first. If you are stronger than Qin Haodong, you don't have to do anything. The Zhao family will take the initiative to send Zhao Qingwu to you. If you don't have that strength, it's useless to think about it. In the end, you will only suffer losses. Yan Zicheng said unconvinced, what's so great about Qin Haodong? Why does the Zhao family have to curry favor with him? Did they forget that Qin Haodong just stole their daughter-in-law? Yan Fengwu sighed and said, you are still immature. The Zhao family is willing to put down their pride for the sake of interests. You said that Qin Haodong is nothing great, but he is a 9th-level supreme power master in his 20s. Can you do that? Yan Zicheng was speechless for a while. Although he was considered an outstanding member of the younger generation, his cultivation had just reached the 5th level of the supreme power realm. He was still a few streets away from the 9th level of the supreme power realm. Grandpa, I can't take this lying down. Are we just going to let this go? Yan Fengwu looked at his precious grandson angrily and said, then tell me, what should we do if we don't let it go? Fight the Zhao family. Yan Zicheng said, the Zhao family is as strong as our Yan family. We can't do anything to the Zhao family, but we can deal with that Qin guy. Deal with Qin Haodong. Yan Fengwu sneered and said, you're right. The Zhao family's strength is equal to ours, but Qin Haodong's strength is several times stronger than ours. If he wants to, he can destroy our Yan clan at any time, and you still want to find trouble with him? What I'm worried about now is that the Yan family doesn't have a suitable 3rd generation. Otherwise, I would have gone to their door to propose marriage. Among the 7 great families in the capital, the other 6 had already taken action, but the Yan family was still silent. On the one hand, Yan Fengwu had other plans. On the other hand, there was really no girl in the 3rd generation of their family who could compare to the 3 beauties of the capital. Otherwise, he would have gone to their door to propose marriage. Yan Zicheng knew that Qin Haodong was powerful, but he did not expect him to be so powerful. Yan Fengwu said, let me tell you, don't provoke Qin Haodong in the near future. Otherwise, I won't forgive you if you bring disaster to the Yan family. But Grandpa, I feel that this is too unfair. Glancing at Yan Zicheng, Yan Fengwu said, in fact, you don't have to worry about this matter. Our Yan family may rise in the near future. Yan Zicheng asked in confusion, Grandpa, what do you mean? Yan Fengwu said proudly, your aunt began to cultivate in seclusion 3 days ago. It is said that she got the help of an expert's elixir this time, and it is very likely that she can break through the bottleneck of the saint realm. As long as your aunt can become a saint, the other families will worship our Yan family. Qin Haodong. Even if he has many 9th-level supreme power masters, so what? They will all be vulnerable. At that time, you can marry any girl in the capital, let alone Zhao Qingwu of the Zhao family. No one will dare to say no. Yan Zicheng shouted excitedly, that's great, Grandpa. I didn't expect my aunt to be so powerful now. She can become the first saint among the 7 great families in the capital. Yan Fengwu said, don't be happy too early. This matter must be kept secret and no one else can know about it. Before Yan Feifei went into seclusion, she had talked to Yan Fengwu and said that the possibility of her breaking through this time was 90%. This was also an important reason why Yan Fengwu did not take the initiative to visit Qin Haodong. As long as the Yan family had a saint, they would definitely become the biggest family in the capital. There was no need to please the Tang sect. Got it, Grandpa. I will keep it a secret. The haze on Yan Zicheng's face was swept away. As long as his aunt became a saint, he would not care about Qin Haodong. In the Wei family, an elegant girl was standing in front of Wei Junce, the family master. Although her face was full of anger, her manner and words were still so elegant. She was the eldest daughter of the Wei family, Wei Yanran, who was known for her beautiful smile. Grandpa, how can you do this? I haven't even seen Qin Haodong. How can you propose marriage without my consent? Wei Junce said, Yanran, although you haven't seen him, I have seen him. Qin Haodong is really a talent. He is already a level 9 Supreme Power Master at such a young age. I have lived for 70 or 80 years, but I have never seen such an outstanding person. Is such a talent not worthy of you? But I don't like him. Wei Yanran said, Grandpa, you have long known that I like talented people, not those who fight and kill. Not to mention that he is a level 9 Supreme Power Master, even if he is a saint, I will not like him. Nonsense. Wei Junce's face darkened. Although he doted on this granddaughter very much, this matter was related to the survival of the Wei family. No one was allowed to stand up against it, including Wei Yanran herself. As a descendant of an aristocratic family, your marriage must be decided by your family. How can you do it alone? Wei Junce seemed to feel that his tone was a little harsh, so he softened and said, Yanran, I know you like those who write and draw now, but what's the use of that? You can decide a person's future and the prosperity of an aristocratic family. You must have strength. The husband I chose for you is just right. Grandpa, I don't agree with this marriage anyway. Wei Yanran left angrily after saying that, but Wei Junce did not take it seriously. As a member of a big aristocratic family, the marriage of the next generation could not be decided by themselves. They had to serve the interests of the family. What was important now was not whether Wei Yanran agreed or not, but Qin Haodong's attitude was ambiguous. As long as Qin Haodong agreed, they would send Wei Yanran to him even if they had to tie her up. Wei Yanran left the Wei family in a rage and drove to a tea house. The tea house was antique from the exterior to the interior decoration. It looked very elegant, but the plaque at the door said Jing Dong, which looked a little tacky. Wei Yanran was a regular here, so no one stopped her after she entered the door. She went straight to the back hall and saw an elegant girl in an ancient dress sitting at the table, drinking tea and reading a book. Seeing the angry Wei Yanran, the girl put down the book in her hand and asked, Yanran, what's wrong with you? Why do you look unhappy? Wei Yanran sat opposite the girl angrily, poured herself a cup of tea and said, How can I be happy? Grandpa arranged a marriage for me today. The girl in the ancient dress smiled and said, It's a good thing. We women have to get married sooner or later. What's there to be unhappy about? Even if it's a family engagement, I'll accept it. After all, this is the fate of women in our big families. Then Wei Yanran said angrily, But this marriage is too outrageous. He has several women and I have to be his concubine after I marry him. The most annoying thing is that even so, he didn't agree. He said he would think about it. How can there be such a hateful person in this world? The woman in the ancient costume was also surprised after hearing this. Really? Doesn't that man know that you are one of the 3 beauties in the capital, Wei Yanran? It's a blessing for him to marry a beautiful woman like you. Why did he refuse to marry you? Wei Yanran said, Not only that, Zhao Qingwu from the Zhao family and Han Jieyu from the Han family also came to propose marriage. You know my dream. I want to find a husband who is proficient in the 4 arts. I didn't expect that my dream would not come true and I would be reduced to fighting for a husband. Speaking of this, she said angrily, Why did you come back from Jiangnan? If you were still in Jiangnan, I could still run away from home to find you. The girl in the ancient dress said, I had no choice. Jiangnan is a good place. Although it is not as prosperous as the capital, it has a strong cultural atmosphere and there are many talents. It's a pity that my grandfather is ill and I have to return to the capital. Otherwise, I would really be reluctant to leave Jiangnan. Wei Yanran drank up the tea in the cup and said as if she had made a decision, I've made up my mind. I can't stay in the capital and wait for death. I'm going to Jiangnan to find him. The girl in the ancient dress was shocked. She did not expect that Wei Yanran, who had always been elegant, would make such a firm decision. She said, will that work? You haven't met him yet. So what? Since I saw his painting, I have decided that I will marry no one else but him in this life. Wei Yanran stood up and walked slowly to the wall. There was a beautifully framed painting hanging on the wall. It was an ink painting with rocks and plum blossoms on it. It looked very simple, but the artistic conception was very profound. If Qin Haodong had seen it, he would have been very surprised. This painting was exactly the plum blossom painting he had drawn with a little teddy bear at the Sino-Japanese exchange meeting. He didn't take it away afterward, but today it appeared on the wall of the tea house in the capital. Wei Yanran stared at the painting and murmured, Mingrue, you're not lying to me, are you? Is the medical sage really so amazing that he has reached an unfathomable level in the four arts? The girl in the ancient dress was the tea fairy, Hua Mingrue, who was Wei Yanran's best friend. She had brought this painting from Jiangnan. Wei Yanran liked painting and calligraphy since she was a child. After seeing this painting of plum blossoms, she could not put it down and finally forced Hua Mingrue to tell her where it came from. Hearing that there was such a magical existence as the medical sage in this world, who was proficient in the four arts, Wei Yanran fell in love with him even though she had not seen him yet. Chapter 691. Of course it's true. How could I joke about this kind of thing? Hua Mingrue looked fascinated. She recalled the scene at that time and said, when the neon people came to challenge us, we didn't take them seriously. Who knew that they were really more skilled? Although they learned many things from our Huaxia, their attainments were no worse than ours. If it hadn't been for the medical sage, we would have been defeated. Speaking of this, she turned her head to look at the painting on the wall. It's a pity that as soon as the challenge ended, I returned to the capital and didn't see him again. At that time, I brought this painting back as a souvenir. You don't like him too, do you? Wei Yanran said, no wonder you were reluctant to give this painting to me. It turns out that you want to see it and remember him. Hua Mingrue blushed and said, I don't like him. After all, we only met once, but he is definitely the person I respect the most in my life. Since I was a child, I have never admired anyone, especially in terms of attainments in the tea ceremony. Others gave me the nickname of Tea Fairy, and I also regarded myself as one. However, after witnessing his tea skills, I realized that I was still too weak. He had reached the supreme realm of pervading aroma, but he had done it so casually. After seeing his tea skills, I also benefited a lot. After so many days of hard work, I have barely reached the primary level of pervading fragrance. Wei Yanran said, looking at your admiring face, you must like him. You don't have to meet someone if you like him. Just like me, although I have only seen this painting of his, I have fallen in love at first sight. I am willing to marry him. Of course you are. Hua Mingrue said, the medical sage is an extraordinary person. He is not only proficient in medical skills, but also has profound attainments in zither, chess, calligraphy and painting. Generally speaking, God is fair. Since he has given a person such excellent talent, he will not be given an excellent appearance. But he is not in this range. He has amazing talent and is even more handsome. His temperament is elegant and refined, and his words and deeds are incomparably natural and unrestrained. No woman can refuse such an outstanding man like him. Wei Yanran looked at the painting of plum blossoms in front of her and said with a fascinated look, if I hadn't grown up with you and knew that you were arrogant and never praised others, I would have thought that you were lying to me. Is there really such a perfect man in this world? Why can't I see it? Hua Mingrui said, medical sage is definitely a perfect and respectable person. The reason why I named this tea house Jingdong Tea House is to express my admiration for him. Wei Yanran said with a surprised face, I see. I was wondering why you, such an elegant person, gave the tea house such a name. Explain to me, what does the word Jingdong mean? Jing, of course, means respect. Dong is his name, and the medical sage's name is Qin Haodong, so I named the tea house Jingdong Tea House with the last word. What? His name is Qin Haodong. As soon as Hua Mingrui finished speaking, Wei Yanran screamed. What's wrong? What's all the fuss about? Is there something special about this name? Wei Yanran said, if I remember correctly, this is the name of the man my family arranged for me. He is from the Qin family in the capital and his name is also Qin Haodong. Hua Mingrui shook her head and said, it's nothing. There are too many people with the same name in the world. Medical Sage was born and raised in Jiangnan and has nothing to do with the Qin family. He is in Jiangnan and it is impossible for him to come to the capital. Wei Yanran also thought that Hua Mingrui's words made sense. She sighed and said, I think so too. There is no such coincidence in this world. I heard that Qin Haodong is also very outstanding. He has reached the terrifying level of the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm at such a young age. Unfortunately, he is not my cup of tea. I don't like martial artists. I like talented people. It would be great if they could make an exchange. If God could send the medical sage you mentioned to me, then I would have no regrets in this life. Hua Mingrui said, don't think about it so beautifully. Most of the things in the world will not go your way. Beautiful women have a poor life. Wei Yanran said, you're not bad. At least you won't be forced to marry someone you don't like by my family. I really want to leave and go to Jiangnan to find medical sage, but I know how powerful the Wei family is. I'm afraid that I can't be with him even if I go to Jiangnan. I will only bring disaster to him. But if you can't find someone you like, what's the difference between marrying him or not? Hua Mingrui sighed and said, forget it. Don't think about so many unhappy things. Today's tea party is about to begin. Let's see if anyone can bring us some surprises. Wei Yanran said, I don't think it's possible. The purpose of your tea party is to find someone who can surpass you in tea skills and then improve your realm in the tea ceremony. But I think the hope is too slim. With your tea skills, I'm afraid that only medical sage can surpass you in the world. Hua Mingrui said, forget it. Let's not talk so much. It's better to have hope than to have no hope. Wei Yanran suddenly thought of something and said, Mingrui, since your grandfather is seriously ill and medical sage's medical skills are so good, why don't you invite him to the capital to treat your grandfather? It would be great if you could invite him. Even if I can't stay with him until my hair turns white, it would be good to see him. Otherwise, it would be a lifelong regret for me. Hua Mingrui said, I've mentioned medical sage before, but my uncle doesn't believe in traditional Chinese medicine at all, so he directly refused. Although my grandfather is good to me, I still need my uncle's permission to treat him, so I don't dare to rashly invite a doctor to the capital. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing if he came all the way here and my uncle refused to treat him. Wei Yanran nodded. She agreed with Hua Mingrui's words very much, but her face was full of regret. Qin Haodong and Yi Qin came to the Jingdong tea house together. They looked up at the antique tea house and couldn't help sighing, this tea house is good. It can be seen from the decoration that the owner has a very high artistic conception in the tea ceremony. You can even see that. The owner of this tea house is called Tea Fairy. Her tea skills have reached the acme of perfection. Everyone who comes here to participate in the tea party can taste a cup of tea personally brewed by the Tea Fairy. The taste is so wonderful that it can't be described with words. So every weekend tea party, I come here to have a cup of tea. Yi Qing said as she stuck out her tongue and licked her delicate red lips. She said with an expression of endless aftertaste, "It's just that 1 cup of tea is really not enough, so I brought you here today and you can have 2 cups. Qin Haodong said with black lines on his face, "You brought me here to attend the tea party just to have 1 more cup of tea?" Yi Qing said with a smile, "Of course it's not to drink tea. It's just one of the purposes. When I came here to drink tea alone in the past, there were always some annoying guys who came to harass me. Now with you by my side, it saves me a lot of trouble and I can enjoy tea quietly." Qin Haodong smiled bitterly. It turned out that he had come here for 2 purposes today. The first was to get a cup of tea, and the second was to use him as a shield. While talking, the 2 of them walked into the tea house. Those who came to attend the tea party had to be members of the tea house. Yi Qing showed her membership card and then took Qin Haodong's arm and walked into the lobby together. The lobby looked very spacious, about 100 square meters or so, and it was filled with tea tables. At this time, the lobby was almost full of guests. There was only 1 table left in the corner, so they could only sit there. Fortunately, we came in time, otherwise there would be no seats. Yi Qing took Qin Haodong's arm and walked to the corner. A foppish playboy saw Yi Qing and was about to come over to say hello, but he saw Qin Haodong next to her. He frowned and said, "Miss Yi, when did you start to keep a gigolo?" Yi Qing glared at him and said, "I just kept him. What does it have to do with you?" "That's what I like." The man's face turned red, but he had no choice but to shake his head and sit down. Other people who wanted to talk to Yi Qing also gave up the idea when they saw this scene. After the 2 of them sat down, Yi Qing said with a smile, "It's really useful to take you with me. It's much quieter." Qin Haodong said, "Sister, when did you keep me? Why don't I see any money?" Yi Qing said with a smile, "We are brother and sister. There's no need to talk about money. If you think it's unfair, then you can keep me. I don't want a penny." Qin Haodong knew that he would not get any advantage in arguing with this sister. He looked up and saw a bead curtain on the other side of the tea house. The decoration inside was very elegant, and there was a tea table. He asked curiously, "What's that for? Why is it separated separately?" "That's the seat of the tea fairy." Yi Qing said, "The tea party is organized by the tea fairy. There is a tea party every weekend. People who come here can taste a cup of tea made by the tea fairy first. After that, everyone can show their tea skills. Finally, the tea fairy will choose the top 3. As long as they can be shortlisted, they can sit in the bead curtain and drink tea with the tea fairy. They can drink a cup of the best fragrant tea made by the tea fairy." "Oh." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "The tea fairy must be a beautiful woman. Do people here come for the tea fairy?" He saw that most of the people sitting here drinking tea were men. So far, Yi Qing was the only woman. As for the title of the tea fairy, there were many people with such a nickname. He did not associate it with Hua Mingrui. Of course she's a beautiful woman, and she's a super beauty. Yi Qing said, "But not all people here are here for the tea fairy. Some people are here for Wei Yanran, one of the 3 beauties in the capital." "Wei Yanran? What is she doing here?" Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. Wei Junce had just come to propose marriage today. They had planned to conquer Wei Yanran as a strategy to conquer the Wei family, but he did not expect that they would meet so soon. "What's wrong? Are you nervous?" Yi Qing said with a smile, "Wei Yanran and the tea fairy are best friends. She will appear here every tea party. If you can go in and drink tea with the tea fairy, you will be lucky enough to see Wei Yanran's face. Therefore, most of the people who come here to attend the tea party are here for the 2 beauties, hoping that one day they can become their guests. These young masters from aristocratic families only know how to drink tea, but they don't know how to make tea. But for this purpose, many people have worked hard to practice tea skills, including Qin Chong, the young master of the Qin family. While they were talking, a man came in from outside the door. It was Qin Chong, whose head had just been shaved by Qin Haodong. Qin Chong's dress was a little different from usual. Instead of his shiny hair, he wore a hat. As the young master of the Qin family, someone had already reserved a seat for him. After Qin Chong arrived, he had been staring at the bead curtain and did not see Qin Haodong and Yi Qing at all. Chapter 692. Wei Yanran continued. Qin Chong came here to pursue Wei Yanran. I heard that he really spent a lot of money to pick up girls. He hired several of the best tea artists in the capital to be his teachers. Now his attainments in the tea ceremony are quite good and he can rank in the top 3 every time. He will go in to meet Wei Yanran and the tea fairy, have a taste of tea and talk about life. At this moment, there was a commotion in the lobby. The tea fairy is here, the tea fairy is here, and Miss Wei, I learned a new skill in the tea ceremony today. I must make it to the top 3 and have a cup of tea with the 2 beauties. Amidst the discussions of the crowd, 2 graceful figures appeared behind the bead curtain. After sitting down at the tea table inside the bead curtain, Hua Mingrui said to the people outside, "Everyone, welcome to today's tea party. First of all, please have a taste of my cooking." After that, the maids came out with trays in their hands. For a moment, the fragrance of tea filled the air. The tea is here, the tea is here. Finally, I can drink the tea of the tea fairy again. I've drunk tea from many tea houses, but none of the tea artists can compare with the tea fairy. This tea is really delicious. It's a pity that this tea party is only held once a week. Why not once a day? Then I'll have the luck. The guests present were all talking at once. In short, they were full of praise for the tea made by the tea fairy. Let me tell you, this does not represent the highest level of the tea fairy. Last time I made it to the top 3, I finally tasted the tea of the tea fairy in person. That's the real immortal tea. Every sip is memorable. Are you showing off? I also want to make it to the top 3 and drink the tea of the tea fairy in person, but I have to have the ability. While everyone was talking, the maids quickly distributed the teacups to the guests one by one. Qin Haodong's table had a total of 2 cups of tea. As the Emperor Green would, no one knew tea better than him. Generally speaking, making tea was divided into 3 levels. The first level was the overflowing fragrance of tea, the second level was the returning to nature, and the third level was the fragrance. Although the tea in front of them was fragrant, it was only the first level of the tea ceremony. However, to be able to brew tea for so many people to such an extent, it was enough to show that the tea maker had extraordinary attainments in the tea ceremony. Seeing that Qin Haodong did not touch the teacup in front of him, Yi Qing quickly grabbed it and said, "You promised. Give me this cup of tea too." The tea that the tea fairy gave to everyone was a fine purple sand tea set. This kind of tea set was good, but unfortunately, the cup was too small, and Yi Qing always drank it without being satisfied. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It's just a cup of tea. If you can help me contact the Wuxia Museum tomorrow, I'll make you a pot of really good tea so that you can drink it all at once." Yi Qing said in surprise, "You know how to make tea? Are you kidding me? Not only do I know how to brew tea, but the tea I brew is unmatched." Yi Qing curled her lips and said, "Keep bragging. How dare you brag about your tea skills in front of the tea fairy? No matter how good you are, can you compare to the tea fairy?" Qin Haodong smiled slightly and did not speak. There was no need to argue about this kind of thing. Soon, everyone drank almost all the tea in their cups. Hua Mingrui, who was behind the bead curtain, said, "Friends, you have tasted the tea I made. Next, let's follow the old rules and enter the second stage of making friends with tea. After seeing everyone's tea art, this little girl will judge everyone. The top 3 can come in and have a cup of tea with this little girl. Let me go first." As soon as Hua Mingrui finished speaking, a young man in his 20s rushed to the front desk in a hurry. It was the person who claimed to have learned the tea art just now. There was a tea table at the front desk, and on the table was a set of fine purple clay tea set for the guests to brew tea. The young man picked up the tea set and began to warm the pot, roast the tea, and rinse the water. The series of actions could be considered to be quite proper. However, Qin Haodong shook his head secretly. It was obvious that this person had just learned the tea ceremony and his attainments were very shallow. It was impossible for him to make good tea like this. Soon, the young man finished brewing his tea. A maid brought a cup of tea into the bead curtain. However, Hua Mingrui just looked at it and frowned slightly. She put the teacup aside casually. She could not drink this kind of inferior tea at all. The young man stood outside the bead curtain. Although he could not see the appearance of the tea fairy, he could see her movements. When he saw that the fairy did not even touch his tea, he immediately knew that he had failed and could only walk off the stage resentfully. After that, several people who studied the tea ceremony went on the stage one after another, but the effect was not very good. Hua Mingrui, the tea fairy, did not give any comments. At this time, there was a burst of applause and Qin Chong, the eldest young master of the Qin family, stepped onto the stage. Compared with those people in front of him, Qin Chong's tea art was indeed much better. His series of movements were smooth and he soon poured out a pot of fragrant tea. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. In order to pursue Wei Yanran, this guy had really put in a lot of effort in the tea ceremony. In time, he would be able to reach the realm of overflowing tea fragrance. Although Qin Chong was wearing a hat, the pride on his face could still be seen. He poured the tea in his hand into 2 cups and asked the maid next to him to send it into the bead curtain. He stood outside and said, "Miss Hua, Miss Wei, please try the tea I made." Wei Yanran first picked up the teacup and took a sip, but she did not say anything. Hua Mingrui picked up the tea in her hand, sniffed it with her nose, and then took a small sip. She nodded imperceptibly. Young Master Qin's tea art has indeed improved rapidly. Now he is almost at the threshold. In fact, if one thought about it carefully, Hua Mingrui's words were very vague. It could be said that she was praising him. However, from another perspective, she was reminding Qin Chong in a disguised way that he had not really entered the threshold of the tea ceremony yet. According to the rules of the tea art industry, only when he made a cup of tea that was overflowing with tea fragrance could he be considered to have crossed the threshold. However, Qin Chong was obviously still a little bit behind. However, Qin Chong did not hear the warning in her words. In his opinion, this was the greatest praise Hua Mingrui had given him. He raised his head and glanced around the audience, feeling proud of himself. In his opinion, he would definitely be in the top 3 today. He could go in and taste tea with Wei Yanran and the tea fairy. Looking at Qin Chong on the stage, Qin Haodong remembered when he was in primary school, the teacher had praised a backward student. So-and-so has made great progress recently. He has quickly improved from 20 points to 59 points. If he works harder, he will be able to pass. The Qin Chong in front of him was very similar to that backward student. However, Qin Chong obviously did not have the awareness of a backward student. On the contrary, it was as if he had won an international prize. Thinking of this, he could not help but laugh out loud. Qin Chong was standing on the stage showing off. When he heard the laughter, his face immediately darkened. He was considered a big shot in the capital. Who dared to laugh at him in public? He looked in the direction of the laughter and was surprised to see Qin Haodong and Yi Qing. His expression suddenly changed. It was the young man in front of him who had shaved the hair of his grandfather and grandchildren, causing his father to be away from the core of the Qin family. He also could not raise his head in the Qin family. He did not expect to meet him again here. He hated Qin Haodong to the bone, but he also knew the gap between them. If he fought, he would only be humiliating himself. He could only stare at him angrily, but did not dare to say anything. Suddenly, he had an idea. I can't beat you, but it's always good to humiliate you. Qin Haodong, what are you laughing at? If you have the ability, come up and make a pot of tea. Let everyone see your tea skills. In his opinion, Qin Haodong could reach the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm at such a young age, so he must be immersed in cultivation all day long. It was impossible for him to know the tea ceremony. As long as he dared to go on the stage, he would definitely make a fool of himself and be laughed at. When the two people behind the bead curtain heard the name Qin Haodong, their bodies could not help but tremble slightly. Then, Wei Yanran's expression changed greatly. The person who could be called by this name in the capital must be Qin Haodong, who was engaged to her, not the medical sage she had always admired. This hateful guy, even the name he came up with was hateful. He had the same name as his idol. When Qin Haodong saw Qin Chong asking him to go on the stage, he could not help shaking his head and said, I'm not interested. He did not need anyone's approval for his tea skills. If he competed with these people on the same stage, it would really damage his reputation. Hua Mingrui originally wanted to comfort Wei Yanran, but before she could speak, she suddenly heard Qin Haodong's words. She suddenly trembled as if she had been struck by lightning. Although they had only met once, she had already deeply imprinted Qin Haodong's voice in her mind. After hearing these words, she immediately realized that the person outside was the medical sage in her heart. Seeing that Qin Haodong did not dare to go on the stage, Qin Chong became more and more complacent. Are you not interested or afraid? Since you don't know the tea ceremony, don't laugh at others casually. The tea I make with one hand will be 100 times more fragrant than the tea you make. As he was speaking, he saw the bead curtain gently lifted and Hua Mingrui hurried out from inside. Her eyes hurriedly scanned the lobby, looking for the figure of that person. Wei Yanran did not know what was wrong with her best friend, so she also followed her out from inside. When Qin Chong saw the tea fairy and Wei Yanran suddenly coming out, he could not help but be overjoyed. This had never happened before. Today, these two beauties must have been shocked by his tea skills, so they came out from behind the bead curtain. He hurriedly ran over and said, Tea fairy, Yanran, I'm reprimanding a shameless man. He obviously doesn't know the tea ceremony, but he dares to laugh at others. This kind of person should not be allowed to attend our tea party in the future. While he was talking, he saw Hua Mingrui's expression change, and then she hurriedly ran in the direction of Qin Haodong. Everyone was shocked. The tea fairy had always been graceful and elegant, and she paid great attention to her appearance. She would not panic no matter what happened. What was wrong with her today? Hua Mingrui came to Qin Haodong's tea table and said excitedly, Mr. Qin, is it really you? When did you come to the capital? Hearing her question, Wei Yanran, who was following closely behind, trembled all over. Although Hua Mingrui did not say much, it was enough to prove that Mr. Qin was the medical sage of Jiangnan City, the idol she wanted to elope with. She had fantasized about Qin Haodong's appearance countless times, and she had also heard Hua Mingrui's praise many times, but she had never thought that he would be so handsome. For a moment, she stood there in a daze, as if she were a wooden sculpture. Qin Haodong did not expect that the tea fairy here was the one he knew. He quickly stood up and said, It turns out to be the tea fairy. I didn't expect to meet you here. It seems that we are really fated. He was just saying it casually, but when Hua Mingrui thought of the conversation with Wei Yanran before, she blushed slightly. At this time, Qin Chong came over. When he saw the situation in front of him, he felt that something was wrong. He said to Hua Mingrui, Tea fairy, do you know him? Hua Mingrui turned around and said to everyone in the lobby, Everyone, let me introduce him to you. This is the tea ceremony master I mentioned to you before. He is Mr. Qin Haodong, who is able to make the pervading fragrance. Chapter 693. After hearing Hua Mingrui's words, there was an uproar in the lobby. The guests who often came to the tea party had heard her talk about the three realms of the tea ceremony. The aroma of tea was overflowing, returning to nature, and the fragrance was spreading everywhere. At the same time, they had also heard her mention that there was a tea ceremony master who could make the supreme realm of pervading fragrance. In everyone's impression, they subconsciously thought that this kind of tea ceremony master should be an old man, but they did not expect it to be this young man in front of them. Qin Chong suddenly felt his face burning, as if he had been slapped 100 times. Just now, he had laughed at him for not knowing how to make tea, but in the blink of an eye, he had become a tea ceremony master. Even the tea fairy had to be respectful to him. After the introduction, Hua Mingrui turned around and said to Qin Haodong respectfully, "Mr. Qin, since I saw your tea ceremony last time, my skills have also improved. I can barely be regarded as having reached the primary level of pervading fragrance. Can you give me some advice and let everyone see what the real pervading fragrance is?" Before Qin Haodong could respond, Yi Qin pinched his waist and shouted, "You brat, you've hidden yourself so well. You stinking brat, you've hidden yourself so well. You're actually an expert in the way of tea. Why don't you brew tea for me normally?" Wei Yanran had just recovered from her petrified state. When she saw the two of them being intimate, she felt very envious. She wished that she could be the one standing next to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong said with a wry smile, "Sister, I don't usually have time." Yi Qin cried, "Then make it for me now. I don't believe that the tea you make can be better than the tea fairies." The tea fairy hurriedly said, "Sister, you must be joking. How can the tea I make be compared with Mr. Qin?" The more respectful and modest Hua Mingrui was, the more curious Yi Qin became. She took Qin Haodong to the front desk and asked him to make a pot of tea for her to taste. Qin Haodong could not refuse, so he picked up the tea set and began to make tea. All the guests in the lobby watched quietly. They wanted to see what was so special about the tea ceremony master that Hua Mingrui respected. But soon, these people found that Qin Haodong's way of making tea was too simple. It was no different from making tea at home. He did not have the demeanor of a tea master at all. Usually, when Hua Mingrui made tea, she was as smooth as flowing water, which was pleasing to the eye. Even Qin Chong's performance just now was very beautiful, but Qin Haodong didn't have any of that. Some people even thought that Hua Mingrui had made a mistake. She thought that Qin Haodong was a tea ceremony master just because he was handsome. As the saying goes, it's not the wine that intoxicates you, but yourself. Although the tea in front of him was not wine, the principle might be the same. Under many surprised and doubtful eyes, Qin Haodong quickly made a pot of tea. "Well, have a taste." Hearing him say that the tea was ready, Yi Qin's eyes widened. Looking at the ordinary purple clay teapot in front of him, without the slightest aroma, he asked in surprise, "Your tea seems to be even better than mine, right?" The tea fairy quickly said, "Sister, Mr. Qin's tea-making technique has reached the realm of returning to simplicity. Please don't misunderstand." Yi Qin said, "Didn't you say that you have reached the realm of pervading fragrance? Why is there no fragrance at all?" Qin Haodong smiled, picked up the purple clay teapot in front of him, and poured a cup of tea for Yi Qin. When the clear tea flowed out of the teapot, a strong fragrance instantly spread out. This kind of tea fragrance was not only refreshing, but also extremely strong. In an instant, it filled the entire lobby and soon spread throughout the tea house. Even the pedestrians on the street could smell this tea fragrance. "It's so fragrant. It's so fragrant. I've lived for most of my life, but I've never smelled such a strong tea fragrance. What is this fragrance? It smells so good. It seems that my cold is much better. Where is this fragrance coming from? It seems to be from Jingdong Tea House. I'm going to have a taste of good tea. It's so fragrant." After the people on the street confirmed that the fragrance was coming from Jingdong Tea House, they immediately swarmed into the tea house. In the lobby of the tea house, the guests smelled the strong fragrance. Some of them slowly closed their eyes with a look of enjoyment, while others looked at the fragrant tea that Qin Haodong had poured out. They couldn't wait to grab it and pour it into their mouths. Qin Haodong divided the pot of tea into 3 cups and pushed them in front of Hua Mingrui, Yi Qing, and Wei Yanran respectively. Yi Qing grabbed her teacup and drank it up in a few gulps. She looked like Zhu Beiji eating ginseng fruits. Hua Mingrui held the teacup in her hand as if she was holding a peerless treasure. Then, she took a sip with an intoxicated and happy look on her face. Wei Yanran glanced at Qin Haodong with a shy look on her face. Then, she slowly picked up the teacup in her hand and took a sip. As soon as the tea entered her mouth, she felt as if every cell in her body had been moistened by this rich fragrant tea. A kind of happiness arose spontaneously in her heart. She felt very happy and blissful. She even smiled. This smile was completely from the bottom of her heart, without any impurities. Her smile was extremely sweet. Qin Haodong was looking at Wei Yanran, the woman who wanted to be engaged to him. When he saw her smile, his eyes lit up. He had 500 years of experience and had seen countless beautiful women. Even now, there was no lack of beautiful women around him. But Wei Yanran's smile was too beautiful. As the saying went, a sweet smile could charm 100 people and cause the downfall of a country. It was a description of the quiet girl in front of him. Just when everyone was silent in this atmosphere, Yi Qing suddenly shouted, "This tea is so delicious. Do you have any more? Hurry up and pour me another cup." As she spoke, she grabbed the teapot from Qin Haodong's hand and poured all the remaining tea into her cup. But she still felt like it was not enough. Hua Mingrui put down the teacup in her hand, turned her head and said to the guests present, "Everyone, have you seen it? This is the real pervading fragrance. Compared with Mr. Qin, my tea art can only be regarded as a small skill." The guests present were extremely excited. After hearing Hua Mingrui's words, they kept nodding and looked at Qin Haodong with awe. At this moment, Qin Chong had quietly slipped out of the tea house. He had thought that Qin Haodong must have spent all his time on martial arts since he had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm at such a young age. But he did not expect that Qin Haodong was also a master in tea art. Even the tea fairy was ashamed of herself. He had just provoked such a person. In comparison, he was like a clown. He could not help but sigh in his heart. They were both descendants of the Qin family, but why was there such a big gap between them? In the lobby, many guests smelled this fragrance, but they could not get this top-grade tea. They were still tempted. A young guest shouted, "Mr. Qin, I'll pay 100,000 yuan for your pot of tea. How about it?" As soon as he opened his mouth, someone immediately shouted, "This is a good tea with the highest attainments in the tea ceremony. How can 100,000 yuan be enough? I'll pay 500,000 yuan. I'll pay 1 million yuan, Mr. Qin. As long as you make me a pot of tea, I'll immediately transfer 1 million yuan to your account. I'll pay 2 million yuan, I'll pay 3 million yuan." In less than 2 minutes, the price of Qin Haodong's pot of tea had been raised to 10 million yuan. Even though he was the executive president of Haodong Group and had a lot of wealth in his hands, Yi Qing still smacked his lips after hearing the figure of 10 million yuan for a pot of tea. Didn't it mean that he had just drunk 3 million yuan? Qin Haodong waved his hand to the crowd below the stage and said, "I'm sorry, everyone. I only make this tea for the people closest to me. I won't sell it even if it costs a lot of money." Hearing that he would not sell it no matter how much money he offered, there was a burst of sighs. At this time, Hua Mingrui said, "Today's tea party is over. Please go back." Although these guests were full of regret, the tea fairy had already asked them to leave, so they could only leave with regret on their faces. The lobby suddenly quieted down, leaving only Qin Haodong and the other 3 people. At this time, Wei Yanran looked intoxicated. Just now, he said that his tea was only for the people closest to him. Since she had drunk a cup of tea, didn't that mean that she was also the person closest to him? Hua Mingrui turned around and said to Qin Haodong, Mr. Qin, I want to ask you why I can't make good tea no matter how hard I try. Miss Hua, we're all friends. There's no need to be so polite. Otherwise, we'll be estranged. Thinking of the title Miss Hua, Qin Haodong couldn't help but smile. He felt that it was a little inappropriate, so he quickly said, in the tea ceremony, the first test is the skill, but in the end, it's actually the state of mind. If a person sits at home and doesn't experience the vicissitudes of the world, it's absolutely impossible to make the best tea. Only after experiencing more and having a good state of mind can you reach the highest level of the tea ceremony. What you lack now is not the skill, but the state of mind. As long as the state of mind is good enough, you will naturally be able to make the pervading fragrance. After hearing this, Hua Mingrui was suddenly enlightened. She finally knew what she lacked, but soon a trace of doubt arose in her heart. The young man in front of her looked a little younger than her. How did he cultivate his state of mind? Could it be that he had experienced a lot? At this moment, she suddenly felt someone tugging at the corner of her clothes. She turned her head and saw Wei Yanran standing behind her. Her delicate face was full of shyness. They grew up together, so she naturally knew what her best friend was thinking. She said to Qin Haodong, Mr. Qin, let me introduce you. This is my best friend, Wei Yanran. Hello, Mr. Qin. I'm Yanran. With Hua Mingrui's introduction, Wei Yanran restrained her shyness and took the initiative to greet him. Qin Haodong said, I've heard of Miss Wei's name a long time ago. You're so charming with a smile. It's really true today. Wei Yanran said, Mr. Qin, you must be joking. Have you really heard of my name? Of course, Miss Wei is one of the 3 beauties in the capital. How could I not have heard of you? Seeing that her sweetheart had heard of her name, Wei Yanran felt happy, as if she had drunk honey. She had already fallen in love with Qin Haodong after hearing Hua Mingrui's story. Today, she could not help but fall in love with him. However, when she thought of the marriage arranged by her family, she could not help but look sad. Hua Mingrui said, Mr. Qin, this is not a place to talk. Please come to my room. After that, she led Qin Haodong and Yi Qing out of the lobby and to her room. After entering the room, Qin Haodong saw the picture of winter plum blossoms on the wall at a glance. He was slightly stunned at first, and then he smiled. He had just casually painted it with a teddy, which was nothing at all. He did not expect that Hua Mingrui would hang it here. After sitting down, Wei Yanran said, Mr. Qin, I've liked painting since I was a child. I've heard from Mingrui that your painting skills are excellent. I'm lucky to see you today. Can you paint for me? Chapter 694. Qin Haodong was not a virgin who had never been in love. Since he met Wei Yanran, he felt that the girl's eyes were full of love when she looked at him. At first, he was a little strange and did not know what was going on. Now he understood that Wei Yanran liked Qin Haodong in the south of the Yangtze River, not him in the capital. He was afraid that Wei Yanran still did not know that he was the one who proposed marriage. Since this was the case, he did not say anything. He said with a smile, well, I'll draw for you. The painting supplies in Hua Mingrui's study were already made. Qin Haodong picked up a brush and began to draw on the rice paper. Wei Yanran and the other 2 gathered beside him and watched attentively. Qin Haodong's painting speed was very fast. It was not an exaggeration to say that his brush was like a flying dragon. Soon, the outline of a beautiful woman appeared on the paper. The woman in the painting was wearing a long red dress. Her figure was slim and her skin was as white as jade. Although it was only a still painting, it gave people a very elegant feeling. Qin Haodong's painting technique was very strange. He outlined all the woman's body, but he did not draw her eyebrows and eyes. Her face was blank. But this painting gave people a very strange feeling. Even if they could not see the face, they could feel that it was a beautiful woman. Yi Qing said, "She asked you to draw, but you drew a woman. Who is this?" Of course, he knew the plan of the Tang sect. Pursuing Wei Yanran was part of the plan. Today was a good opportunity for him to draw. Wei Yanran's attitude towards Qin Haodong was also very good. But she did not expect that Qin Haodong would not take advantage of it. She asked him to draw a painting, but he drew a woman. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Sister, when can you change your temper? You can get married." Yi Qing reached out and pinched his waist again. "It's none of your business whether I get married or not. Hurry up and draw." Qin Haodong shook his wrist and the brush in his hand quickly sketched the appearance of a beautiful woman on the painting. A few seconds later, he threw the brush aside and said, "It's done." The three girls looked at the paper together and saw that the drawing of a beautiful woman had been completed. The woman in the drawing had clear facial features and the corners of her mouth were curled up. It was the expression of a sweet smile. Wei Yanran suddenly raised her hand and covered her beautiful little mouth. Is this me?" No wonder she felt familiar when she saw the person in the painting. It turned out that Qin Haodong was painting her. She didn't even notice the smile on her face when she was tasting the tea, but Qin Haodong painted it on the paper with perfect form and spirit. After seeing the woman in the painting clearly, Hua Mingrue's face was full of shock. It was not entirely because it was Wei Yanran in the painting, but because she saw the difference in the painting. If it were an ordinary person, they would only see Wei Yanran smiling in the painting, but it was different at this moment. She could actually feel Wei Yanran's emotions through the painting. To be exact, she could feel Wei Yanran's emotions in the painting. It was a kind of happiness from the bottom of her heart, as if her own emotions were infected. At this time, Yi Qing and Wei Yanran also saw the abnormality of this painting, and they also showed a look of shock. In the past, when they saw other people's paintings, even the most famous painter, they had never felt this way. After a long time, Hua Mingrue slowly came to her senses from the artistic conception of the painting. She said to Qin Haodong excitedly, "Mr. Qin, is this the legendary, implicit meaning?" She liked the tea ceremony the most, but she was also very proficient in painting, so she naturally knew that the highest realm of painting was implicit meaning. Wei Qing did not know much about painting, so she asked, "What is implicit meaning?" Wei Yanran said excitedly, "The so-called implicit meaning means that the painter can show a kind of emotion in the painting and let people be infected by him. For example, in Da Vinci's classic Mona Lisa, some people can see Mona Lisa's tears in the painting and feel her sadness. This is a kind of manifestation of the realm of implicit meaning. It's just that this realm is extremely difficult to reach. From ancient times to the present, there are very few painters who can reach this realm." As she spoke, she looked at Qin Haodong with shining eyes, and the love in her eyes was much stronger. Qin Haodong nodded slightly and said, "Kind of." Hua Mingrue said, "In terms of the realm, Mr. Qin's painting is a level higher than Mona Lisa. They are both in the realm of implicit meaning, but Mona Lisa can only make a few people feel the sadness in it, but Mr. Qin's painting can make people feel the joy in it, no matter whether they know the way of painting or not. This is the difference in realm." Yi Qing reached out and pinched Qin Haodong's waist again. "What the hell is in your head? How can your painting be even worse than Da Vinci's? How many more things are you hiding from me?" Qin Haodong said with a wry smile, "Sister, do I need to hide it from you? I can't show all my skills when I see you. Wouldn't that be showing off?" Yi Qing glanced at Wei Yanran, whose eyes were full of little stars, and said in a low voice, "Aren't you showing off now?" Wei Yanran blushed. She looked at Qin Haodong and said timidly, "Mr. Qin, can you give this painting to me?" She was also very accomplished in ink painting, so she naturally knew the value of Qin Haodong's painting. If she took it to the auction, she would definitely be able to sell it at a sky-high price with the realm of implicit meaning. It was the first time the two of them had met. She knew that it was impolite to ask for such an expensive thing, but she really liked this painting. Moreover, the person in the painting was herself. She didn't want this painting to fall into the hands of others. Qin Haodong said, "This painting was painted for Miss Wei Yanran, so it naturally belongs to you, but you have to wait for a while." As he said that, he picked up a pen and wrote 8 big words at the lower corner of the painting, "A sweet smile can topple a city." These words were vigorous and powerful, adding a lot of color to the painting. Wei Yanran was instantly petrified, but her heart was beating violently, as if it would jump out of her throat at any time. What does he mean? Is he confessing to me? Does he like me too? After hesitating for a while, Wei Yanran thought that she was about to be betrothed to the man she didn't like. She gritted her teeth and made up her mind. The moment Qin Haodong handed over the painting, she said softly, "Can you take me away?" "What?" Qin Haodong held the painting in his hand and was stunned for a moment. "What do you mean? Could it be that this gentle and moving girl was open-minded to this extent? She wants to elope with me the first time we met." Seeing Qin Haodong's surprised expression, Wei Yanran was so shy that her cheeks were so red that it seemed that blood was about to drip out. She lowered her head so deeply that her chin almost touched her towering chest. Hua Mingrui hurriedly explained for her best friend, "Well, Yanran's family will arrange a marriage for her today. The man is also called Qin Haodong and he is from an aristocratic family in the capital. It's a pity that Yanran doesn't like him. She has always liked you, so she wants you to take her away." Hearing this explanation, Qin Haodong was speechless. He felt that he was still happy. This girl actually wanted him to elope with her, and the reason she ran away was her marriage with him. Wasn't it a little too melodramatic? Seeing Qin Haodong's shocked expression, Hua Mingrui thought that he was surprised that Wei Yanran liked him, so she said again, "In fact, Qin Haodong is also a good person. He has reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm at such a young age. But Yanran doesn't like this kind of person. She likes talented young people. I told her about what happened at the exchange meeting in Neon before. From that moment on, she fell in love with you. Just before the tea party, she was clamoring to go to Jiangnan to find you." Yi Qing, who was next to her, was surprised at first, but then she figured out the key and immediately giggled. She laughed because Wei Yanran actually wanted to elope with the man she was engaged to, but Wei Yanran did not know this. She thought that Yi Qing was laughing at her, so she suddenly became even more shy and wanted to find a hole to hide in. Seeing Wei Yanran's embarrassment, Yi Qing quickly said, "You guys talk. I have something to do. I'll leave first." After saying that, she walked out and closed the door behind her. Wei Yanran's shyness eased a little when there was one less person in the room. She raised her head slightly and secretly glanced at Qin Haodong, wanting to see how her sweetheart looked at her. After coming to his senses, Qin Haodong also felt that this matter was very interesting. He did not say anything, but said with a smile, "Well, I also fell in love with Miss Wei at first sight. I'll take you away later." "That's great." Hua Mingrui was also happy for her best friend, but there was a faint sense of loss in her heart. Yanran had found the person she liked the most, but what about herself? Wei Yanran lowered her head and said shyly, "If you want to leave, you have to be quick. Otherwise, if my family finds out, you will be in danger." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "It doesn't matter. Your family will be very happy to see me." Wei Yanran hurriedly said, "It's really not what you think. Although you are very outstanding, my grandpa has already arranged a marriage for me." While they were talking, Qin Haodong's cell phone rang. It was a call from Lin Momo. He apologized to Wei Yanran and said, "Sorry, I have to answer the phone first." He took the phone to the door, pressed the answer button and asked, "Momo, how are your preparations going? When can you come to the capital? I miss you in Tang Tang." "We miss you too." Lin Momo said, "Things are going very well. When I arrange everything here, I can leave for the capital, but now there is a shortage of funds. Oh. This time, Qin Haodong asked Yi Qin to buy the Tang Sex Club for a total of 3 billion yuan. After that, he made some changes and added a lot of things. In total, he spent about 4 billion yuan, almost emptying his and Lin Momo's cash. How much money do you need in total? 2 billion yuan. If I have this money, I can make arrangements for Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company in Lin's group, and then go to the capital. Don't worry, I'll transfer the money to you in a few days. Qin Haodong hung up the phone. He did not go back immediately, but began to think about how to get 2 billion yuan. If he asked Chu Xianyue not to mention 2 billion yuan, he could even get 4 billion yuan. But he did not want to do that. His mother had worked so hard for so many years, and he could not ask for money as soon as they were reunited. But 2 billion yuan was not a small number. How could he get it as soon as possible? Suddenly, an idea occurred to him. After the meeting just now, he had been thinking about how to help the 7 great families improve their strength quietly. Now he finally had a way. He could auction his pills. At that time, he could not only help the martial artists of the 7 great families improve their cultivation, but also make a lot of money from them. This was definitely a good idea that satisfied both sides. Chapter 695. Qin Haodong considered the idea from beginning to end several times and confirmed that it was feasible. Then he turned back to the room and said to the 2 girls, "Do you know where there is an auction house in the capital? The bigger, the better. I'm going to sell some things." He had just arrived in the capital and was not familiar with the situation here. However, the 2 girls in front of him were both from the capital, so they should know where the auction house was. Seeing that he was going to find an auction house, Wei Yanran immediately misunderstood his intention. She thought that he was going to prepare money for elopement and chose to sell some of his things. She was quite moved and said, "In fact, you don't have to do this. I still have some savings over the years, which are enough for us." As the eldest daughter of the Wei family, she had never been short of pocket money. She had saved up tens of millions of yuan over the years. Qin Haodong was stunned at first, and then he understood what Wei Yanran meant. He said with a smile, "You'd better keep your money. I'm not used to using women's money." Hua Mingrui said, "My uncle runs an auction house, and it's the largest one in the capital, the Gathering Treasures auction house. If you want to sell anything, I can take you there." "That's great." Qin Haodong was very happy to hear that it was the largest auction house in the capital. Only such a large auction house could attract the disciples of the 7 great families. If he found an ordinary auction house, he was afraid that these pills would not be sold. He said, "I want to sell some pills, and I don't want to expose my identity." This was what he had just thought about. Before the secret of the peculiar demons was revealed, the auction must be kept secret. Otherwise, if the 7 great families in the capital knew that these pills were from his hands, others would definitely be suspicious, and he was afraid that they would not bid for them. After all, in the eyes of these families, pills that could improve cultivation were absolutely treasures. They would not sell them no matter how much money they offered. It's not a problem to keep it a secret. I'm very familiar with the butler of the auction house. You just need to tell him. Hua Mingrui said, "But I don't think you need to auction the pills. For example, if you take the painting you just drew, it will definitely be sold at a sky-high price." As soon as she finished speaking, Wei Yanran held the painting tightly in her hand and said nervously, "This painting is mine. I can't sell it, no matter how much money it costs." She now regarded the painting as a token of love from Qin Haodong. She valued it more than her life. How could she auction it? Hua Mingrui smiled and said, "You wicked girl, I didn't say that I would sell the one in your hand. Haodong has the ability to draw. He can just draw one and auction it." Qin Haodong shook his head with a wry smile and said, although I can paint a painting like this in the realm of conception, it's not like painting other scrolls. I can paint it at will. I need inspiration. He was not lying. The reason why he was able to draw this painting just now was that he was inspired by Wei Yanran's beautiful smile. That was why he was able to draw it in one fell swoop. After the inspiration, it was too difficult for him to draw such a painting in the realm of connotation. Sorry, I was too impatient. Hua Mingrue smiled apologetically and then said, even if it's not a painting in the realm of connotation, you can definitely sell it at a very high price with your level. If Qin Haodong just wanted to raise money, he might really draw a few paintings and sell them. But he also needed to help the 7 great families improve their cultivation while raising money. Obviously, elixirs are the best choice. I think art is priceless. Elixirs can also cure diseases and save lives. I think it's better to sell elixirs. Hua Mingrue looked embarrassed and said apologetically, I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. I'm too worldly. After that, she glanced at the clock on the wall and said, there's a large-scale auction in my uncle's place today. The standard is very high. It will start at 9 o'clock in the evening. It's almost time. Let's hurry up. 5 minutes later, Qin Haodong and the other 2 walked out of the tea house together. Wei Yanran naturally took Qin Haodong's arm. She did not feel strange in front of this man at all. On the contrary, she felt very secure and at ease. According to Hua Mingrue's request, Qin Haodong wore a big hat and a pair of large sunglasses on his face. No one would be able to recognize him if they did not look at him carefully. Until now, Wei Yanran still did not know Qin Haodong's identity. She had been planning to elope with him, so she also made some changes to her clothes. She changed into Hua Mingrue's clothes and wore a pair of sunglasses. The 3 of them went to the treasure-gathering store together. It was indeed the largest auction house in the capital. It looked much larger than the one in Shanghai. The security guards here were very familiar with Hua Mingrue. After seeing her, they did not say much and directly let the 3 of them in. When they went backstage, Hua Mingrue directly found Wu Mufeng, the manager in charge of the auction. After seeing Hua Mingrue, Wu Mufeng said politely, Miss, you're here. Do you want to join in the fun and buy something you like? I'm not here to buy something this time. I want to sell something. Hua Mingrue pointed to Qin Haodong and said, my friend wants to sell something in our store. Wu Mufeng said, no problem. What do you want to sell, sir? Qin Haodong took out 3 spirit culturing elixirs, energy gathering elixirs, and spirit culturing elixirs in turn and said, help me sell these pills. Follow my instructions. As he said that, he explained the auction method a little more. Wu Mufeng asked, may I ask which famous master made these pills? Qin Haodong shook his head and said, I can't tell you. You just need to sell them. Well, Wu Mufeng said in embarrassment, if they're not made by a famous master, I'm afraid they can't be sold at the price you asked for. If all of them fail to be sold, it will be a disgrace to our store. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, well, lower the starting price a little. 100,000 yuan per pill. Wu Mufeng's heart was full of disdain. The black pills were sold at 100,000 yuan per pill. It seemed that they were sold cheaply. How could anyone buy them? However, they were brought here by Miss Hua, so he could not lose his temper. I'm afraid I can't do that. The boss will blame me, Hua Mingrue said, just follow my friend's instructions. I'll take care of my uncle. All right. After hesitating for a moment, Wu Mufeng finally agreed. He had worked in the store for so many years, so he knew very well that Hua Mingrue was the boss's niece and the old master's favorite granddaughter. He numbered the pills that Qin Haodong took out and handed them to the staff next to him. Then, he led Qin Haodong and the other 2 into a private room. This kind of private room was specially prepared for VIPs who did not want to reveal their identities. Sitting here, they could have a panoramic view of the entire store. At the same time, it was a one-way glass. They could see clearly from the inside, but the outside could not see what was going on inside. After asking the staff to bring in fruits and refreshments, Wu Mufeng turned around and left. The three of them sat on the sofa. At this time, it was almost time for the auction to begin. The venue was crowded and almost hundreds of people had gathered. When he saw a figure in the front row of the VIP seats, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. This person was Chu Xianming, who had just left the Tang sect. With him here, it seemed that his pills could be sold at a good price today. Wei Yanran also looked at the guests in the store. Suddenly, her expression changed and her arm, which was holding Qin Haodong's hand, became stiff. Qin Haodong keenly felt the change in her. He turned around and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Wei Yanran said nervously, "My father is also here. If he sees us together, we will be in big trouble. At that time, we won't be able to leave the capital at all." Qin Haodong smiled. It was a good thing that someone from the Wei family was here. At that time, he would not have to worry about selling his pills. He said, "Don't be nervous. Don't forget that this is a one-way glass. They can't see you at all." "Oh." Wei Yanran relaxed a little, but she still said, "Haodong, why don't we go? Don't sell those pills. Anyway, I have enough money here. Don't worry. We're already here. It doesn't matter if we wait for a while. The auction will start soon." "Well, I'll listen to you." Wei Yanran nodded, but her hands holding Qin Haodong's arm tightened. Obviously, she was still a little nervous. At this time, a young man walked into the auction house. Hua Mingrui said, "It's Yan Zicheng from the Yan family. He's also here." Hearing that he was from the Yan family, Qin Haodong could not help thinking of Yan Feifei. His heart could not help but twitch. He did not mind that this woman was a few years older than him, but he cared about his mother's opinion. After all, the two of them were rivals in love in the past. Now, she suddenly became her daughter-in-law. He did not know if his mother could accept it. Just as he was thinking about it, the auction officially began. The host and the auctioneer walked on the stage together. The host held the microphone in his hand and said to the guests below the stage, "Before the auction begins, I'd like to announce a piece of good news. This auction has added a special item. This is a magical elixir. There are 3 kinds of elixirs: the big strengthening elixir, the energy gathering elixir and the spirit culturing elixir. Among them, the big strengthening elixir can improve the cultivation of a warrior at the covert power level by 1 level. The energy gathering elixir can improve the cultivation of a supreme power below the 3rd level by 1 level. The spirit culturing elixir can improve the cultivation of a supreme power below the 6th level by 1 level. Of course, the spirit culturing elixir is also effective for supreme power masters above the 6th level. However, they need to take a few more to improve their cultivation. It's not as obvious as it is for those below the 6th level. After he finished speaking, there was an immediate uproar. Most of the people attending today's auction were from the aristocratic families in the capital. Many of them were martial artists. After hearing the effects of these elixirs, they immediately became excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. But then someone raised a question and shouted to the stage, "I want to ask which master made these elixirs. Is there any guarantee of quality?" Others also echoed. After all, they had never heard of elixirs with such good effects before. It was a good thing to improve one's cultivation, but it would be sad if they bought fake elixirs. At that time, not only would they not be able to improve their cultivation, but they would also suffer from qi deviation. The host said, "Due to the request of the client, the information of these elixirs is confidential. We can't say which master made them." As soon as he said this, the audience immediately shouted, "Who dares to buy this kind of elixir without knowing the information? What if they buy fake elixirs?" The host quickly said, "Everyone, please be quiet. In order to increase your trust, the client specially proposed that the first person to bid for the elixir must try it on the spot. If the effect is not good, not only will they immediately refund the elixir, but they will also compensate them double. Hearing that the elixirs could be tried on the spot and the compensation would be doubled if the effect was not good, these people immediately quieted down. They were full of expectations for the elixirs mentioned by the host. Chu Xianming was sitting in the front row. When he heard the name of the spirit culturing elixir, his eyes were immediately filled with excitement. Chapter 696. Chu Xianming had just failed to ask Qin Haodong for the elixir. He did not expect to see the spirit culturing pill at the auction in the blink of an eye. He didn't think that the elixir was refined by Qin Haodong. Instead, he thought bitterly, I was wondering how that boy could be so capable at such a young age. He could even refine the spirit culturing elixir. It turns out that he also got it from other sources. Today, I'll buy the elixir and improve my cultivation. Let's see what else you have to say. Although he thought so, he was very shrewd and used to being cunning, so he did not act impulsively. He decided to ask his bodyguard to bid for the lowest level of the big strengthening pill to see if it was real. Yan Zicheng, who was not far away from him, was shocked when he heard the name energy gathering pill. His aunt, Yan Feifei, once said that the elixir left by the master was called energy gathering pill and it was very effective. It was the energy gathering pill left by that master that he was able to break through the bottleneck of the holy stage this time. However, there were not many energy gathering pills in Yan Feifei's hands, which were only enough for her. Although the other members of the Yan family were very envious, they did not get a single one. Today, he heard the name of the energy gathering pill here. As long as it was real, he would bid for it at all costs, no matter how much it cost. What made him even more excited was that there was a spirit culturing pill at the auction today, which was of a higher level than the energy gathering pill. If he took this pill back to the family master, he would definitely win his grandfather's favor and the reward he would get would definitely be beyond his imagination. Not only Chu Xianming and Yan Zicheng, but also the others were eager to have a try. After all, the elixir that could improve one's cultivation was too rare and they could not see it at all. The auctioneer began the auction of the elixir. Everyone, the first one is the big strengthening pill. The starting price is 100,000 yuan and each bid must be no less than 10,000 yuan. This is a golden opportunity. Now, let's start bidding. Wu Mufeng, who was standing next to him, was slightly tense and a little nervous. After all, he had made the decision to auction the elixir. If all these elixirs were not sold, it would inevitably affect the reputation of the treasure-gathering store. At that time, he was afraid that the boss would be dissatisfied. But after the waiter shouted the price, someone immediately shouted, 150,000 yuan, Wu Mufeng was relieved. He turned his head and saw Chu Xianming holding his bidding card in his hand. As the second young master of the Chu family, Chu Xianming was very famous in the capital. Seeing that the second young master of the Chu family had made a bid, the others remained silent. On the one hand, they did not want to compete with the Chu family. On the other hand, they all wanted to see the effect of this pill. After calling 3 times, the auctioneer saw that no one answered, so he knocked the auction gavel in his hand and sent the big essence culturing pill to Chu Xianming. Chu Xianming took the pill and opened the lid of the small jade bottle. Suddenly, the fragrance of the pill filled his nostrils. As a supreme power master, he immediately realized that this was a good pill. However, to be on the safe side, he still handed the elixir to the bodyguard next to him. You go up and eat it. Let's see how effective it is. His bodyguard was a warrior at the 5th level of covert power. Originally, he was also skeptical about this kind of elixir, but now that his master had given the order, he had no choice but to take the risk. He followed the waiter to the front stage and then swallowed the elixir. The auction continued. When the auctioneer sold the other 2 items in succession, the bodyguard suddenly let out a clear roar. Then his whole body's momentum soared and he directly broke through. It only took him 10 minutes to improve from the 5th level of covert power to the 6th level of covert power. The bodyguard jumped up from the stage, rushed to Chu Xianming excitedly and shouted, "Boss, I've broken through now. The effect of this elixir is really amazing. Not bad. You'll be rewarded when you go back." Chu Xianming was overjoyed. It seemed that this elixir was real. As long as he got the spirit culturing pill, he would not lose to Chu Xuanli at all. He could even win the favor of the family master, Chu Shanhe. He was not the only one who was happy. The attention of the warriors present was focused on the bodyguard. Seeing that the bodyguard had broken through, they immediately became excited. The road of martial arts was extremely bumpy. Often they could not break through to a higher level even if they practiced hard for several years. Now it only took them 10 minutes to break through. How could they let go of this kind of elixir? Hurry up and auction the elixir. Put the other things aside. In the shouting of many warriors, the auctioneer had to suspend the auction of other items and continue to auction the remaining 2 energy-gathering elixirs. "I'll pay 5 million. As soon as the auctioneer announced the start of the auction, someone directly called out a sky-high price of 5 million. Many warriors were just about to grab the elixir, but they were frightened by this person's momentum. They turned their heads and saw that it was Wei Bingxing from the Wei family. Qin Haodong nodded slightly. This person was very decisive. It seemed that he had offered a very high price, but in fact, he had taken a big advantage. Now everyone was in high spirits. If they bid step by step, they might not be able to buy this elixir with 5 million. After the auctioneer called out 3 times in a row, he knocked the auction hammer in his hand. Finally, the second big spirit culturing elixir was taken away by Wei Bingxing at the price of 5 million. Next was the auction of the third big spirit culturing elixir. As Qin Haodong had predicted, people revealed their prices one after another. The price of this elixir kept rising, and it was finally bought by Yan Zicheng at the price of 8 million. Seeing that the 3 elixirs were sold for more than 10 million, Wu Mufeng immediately smiled. According to the commission of 20%, the store could make a lot of money. Moreover, these were the 3 cheapest elixirs. When the remaining ones were sold, they would definitely make a lot of money. Next, the auctioneer began to auction the energy-gathering elixir. In the face of this kind of elixir that could improve the cultivation of a supreme power master, many warriors were even more anxious. They emptied their wallets to bid for it. However, the financial resources of these small families were limited. After 3 rounds of bidding, the 3 energy-gathering elixirs were taken away by the Yan family, the Wei family, and the Chu family. The prices were 30 million, 50 million, and 80 million respectively. The 3 elixirs were sold for 160 million yuan in total. Wu Mufeng was about to go crazy. Was this still an elixir? Even if it was made of gold, it would not be so valuable. Before he came to his senses, the auction of the spirit culturing elixir began. The bidding for the first elixir began. The starting price was still 100,000 yuan that Qin Haodong had set before. As soon as the auctioneer started, Chu Xianming immediately called out the price of 100 million yuan. He also wanted to follow Wei Bingxing's example just now. He wanted to scare others away with a sky-high price, and then take the elixir at the lowest price. Unfortunately, he still underestimated the attraction of the spirit culturing elixir. He was a level 6 Supreme Power Master, and Wei Bingxing was also a level 6 Supreme Power Master. Moreover, he had been stuck in this realm for almost 8 years. How could he let go of this elixir? "I'll pay 150 million, 200 million, before Chu Xianming called out the price, Yan Zicheng called out the price of 200 million yuan. He had just contacted the family master, Yan Fengwu, and he would get a spirit culturing elixir no matter what the price was. Chu Xianming was very smart. He also knew that he could not keep bidding like this. In the end, he could only bid higher and higher. He asked his bodyguard to secretly communicate with Yan Zicheng and Wei Bingsheng. The three families all gave in and each of them took a spirit culturing elixir. Even so, in the end, the total price of the 3 elixirs reached 1 billion yuan. Originally, this method was forbidden by the auction house, but on the one hand, the 3 families did not dare to provoke him easily. On the other hand, Wu Mufeng did not care if they played tricks on him since he had sold so many elixirs. Finally, the auction of these elixirs was over. Some people from other small families did not get a single elixir. They could not help but stamp their feet and beat their chests in hatred. Their financial resources were limited, so there was nothing they could do. In the private room, Wei Yanran was stunned. She did not expect that these small elixirs would be so valuable. In the blink of an eye, they were sold for more than 1 billion yuan. Thinking of the tens of millions of yuan in her pocket, it was really incomparable. What kind of man had she found? He was making money too fast, wasn't he? Hua Mingrui was also very surprised. Originally, she wanted to ask Qin Haodong to sell his paintings. She thought that she could make money faster, but she did not expect that these elixirs were more valuable than paintings. At this moment, the door of the private room opened and Wu Mufeng walked in from outside. At this time, his face was already smiling like a chrysanthemum. "Mr. Qin, your elixirs have been sold out. You sold them for a total of 173.15 billion yuan. Originally, we wanted to charge 20% of the service fee, but I decided to give you a discount. We will take the rest. You can take away 1 billion yuan. Do you want cash or bank transfer?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Raise your hand and throw Lin Momo's account to him. Please help me transfer the money to this account." "Okay, no problem. It'll be done right away." Wu Mufeng agreed and turned his head to ask the staff behind him to do the operation. Soon, 1 billion yuan was transferred into Lin Momo's account. "Mr. Qin, I won't bother you anymore." "Wait a minute." Wu Mufeng turned around and was about to leave, but he was called back by Qin Haodong. He asked politely, "Mr. Qin, do you have any other arrangements?" Qin Haodong took out a small cloth bag from his pocket and handed it to Wu Mufeng. He said, "I have 10 spirit culturing elixirs, 10 energy gathering elixirs, and 10 spirit culturing elixirs. Go to the front desk and announce it now. But remember, don't auction them immediately. You have to wait until all the other things are auctioned." "I see, Mr. Qin." Wu Mufeng carefully took the elixirs and then counted them one by one. He did not dare to look down on these things now. Each of them could be said to be very valuable. It would be bad if there was a mistake. At this time, Qin Haodong took out a small jade bottle from his pocket and handed it to him. This elixir is called Saint Elixir. It can help a level 9 Supreme Power Master increase the success rate of breaking through the bottleneck of the Saint Realm by 50%. The starting price is 500 million yuan. 500 million yuan. Wu Mufeng reached out to take the elixir. When he heard the number, he was so scared that his hands trembled and he almost dropped the elixir to the ground. "Mr. Qin, is this okay?" Even though he had been through a lot and this was the largest auction house in the capital, he had never seen an item with a starting price of 500 million yuan. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Manager Wu, you just need to do as I say. If it can't be sold, it's not a big deal." "Okay, I see, Mr. Qin." Through the auction just now, Wu Mufeng had strengthened his confidence in Qin Haodong. He took the elixir and turned to leave. Soon, he stood on the auction stage and took the microphone from the auctioneer's hand. After announcing the end of the other items, he would auction the elixirs just now. The number had increased, and there was also the most expensive Saint Elixir. As soon as he finished speaking, the whole audience was in an uproar. Many people did not care about the next auction and took out their mobile phones to make calls. Chapter 697. In Shanghai, Lin Momo hadn't gotten off work yet. She sat on the sofa in the office and frowned slightly. Recently, she had been worried about funds. Lin's Jewelry and Tangmen Pharmaceutical Company had just entered Shanghai. They needed money in all aspects, but the capital chain was broken. Although the impact was not too serious and the company could still maintain its operation, it hindered her and prevented her from rushing to the capital in a short time. Although she had just called Qin Haodong, she didn't have much hope. After all, the amount of funds needed now was too large. At this moment, the phone rang. She grabbed the phone and glanced at it casually. When she saw the content, she suddenly sat up with a look of disbelief. In such a short time, 1 billion yuan had been transferred to her account, and the source was from the capital. Where did he get 1 billion yuan in such a short time? She quickly dialed Qin Haodong's cell phone again. Haodong, I suddenly received 1 billion yuan on my cell phone. What's going on? I asked someone to call it, Qin Haodong said. I'm at the auction house in the capital. It's just the first payment. There will be more money coming in later. How many elixirs did you sell? 9. I just sold 9 elixirs. What? 9 elixirs sold for so much money? Lin Momo was shocked. The profit margin was too high. If selling elixirs could make so much money, why would he open a company? He could casually sell a batch of elixirs and he could get tens of billions. What's the fuss? My elixirs are worth this price. Qin Haodong's elixirs were made with 5,000-year-old medicinal materials and were extremely precious. If it weren't for the alien demon, he would have been reluctant to sell them in order to help the 7 great families. After all, 5,000-year-old medicinal materials were absolutely non-renewable resources. After he hung up the phone, the auction house had already begun to bustle with noise and excitement. When the news just spread out, the patriarchs of the 7 great families of the imperial capital could not sit still. A medicinal pill that could enhance one's cultivation was too precious for a family. After receiving the news, they immediately brought people and rushed to the auction house. Seeing the huge lineup of the 7 great families, those small families and rogue cultivators were desperate. When they heard that 10 of each elixir would be taken out this time, they still had a glimmer of hope and hoped to get one. But now, there was no hope at all. Hua Mingrui said, Haodong, I don't think your way of auction is right. Qin Haodong asked, what's wrong? Hua Mingrui said, as the saying goes, the rarer something is, the more expensive it is. You should sell these elixirs separately and only sell 1 or 2 a day, so that they can be sold at a high price. If you take out more than 30 at a time, I'm afraid the price won't be much higher than before. I didn't expect that. Qin Haodong looked at Hua Mingrui and smiled. Money is enough. There's no need to sell it at such a high price. He naturally understood that the rarer something was, the greater its value. However, making money was only one of his purposes. In addition, he also wanted to help the 7 great families, so he would not use the method that Hua Mingrui suggested. He naturally understood that the rarer something was, the more expensive it was. However, making money was only one of his purposes. In addition, he wanted to help the 7 great families, so he would not use the method that Hua Mingrui had suggested. Because his elixirs had caused a great impact, most of the other items at the auction were closed hastily. When all the people from the 7 great families arrived, the auction of the elixirs began. As Hua Mingrui had predicted, although Qin Haodong took out 10 big strengthening elixirs, 10 energy-gathering elixirs, and 10 spirit-culturing elixirs at a time, the price of the auction was only a little more than before. It barely reached 1.5 billion yuan. With more elixirs, the price people offered was naturally lower. At this time, when the last Saint elixir was auctioned, the auctioneer said on the stage, the last one is a magical elixir. It's called the Saint elixir. It can help a level 9 supreme power master break through the bottleneck of the Saint stage, and it can increase the possibility by as much as 50%. The starting price is 500 million yuan, and each increase is no less than 10 million yuan. We can't miss this opportunity. Now, please start bidding. Qin Haodong sat in the private room and watched. In his plan, this saint elixir would definitely be sold at a sky-high price. After all, there were very few elixirs that could help a level 9 Supreme Power Master break through the bottleneck of the saint stage. However, he did not expect that after the auctioneer announced the auction for a long time, the venue was still silent, and no one bid. After a short period of shock, he immediately understood. It seemed that these people did not believe in the saint elixir. A level 9 Supreme Power Master was not like other Supreme Power Masters. There were only 2 in each family. If something really happened to one of them and his strength was damaged, he would immediately become the last of the 7 great families. Qin Haodong's guess was right. The masters of the 7 great families did have such concerns. After all, for so many years, there had never been a level 9 Supreme Power Master in the capital who broke through the bottleneck of the saint stage. There had never been a saint elixir before. If one could break through after eating it, it would be a happy ending, but what if it caused qi deviation? Losing a level 9 Supreme Power Master was a pain that no family could bear. There was a long silence. At this moment, Qin Zhan Ao raised the number plate in his hand and said, "I bid 500 million yuan." After he called out the price, the others immediately looked over. The other 6 aristocratic families were all whispering to each other. Everyone was also very curious about the effect of this saint elixir. Since the Qin family was willing to take the risk, they would let him take it. Based on this idea, no one else bid after Qin Zhan Ao bid. In the end, the saint elixir fell into the hands of the Qin family at the starting price. Qin Haodong shook his head slightly. Ignorance was really terrible. Such a precious elixir had almost been sold. But no matter what, he had just sold it for 2 billion yuan, and the purpose of raising funds had been achieved. After the auction, Wu Mufeng ran into the private room with a happy face. He looked at Qin Haodong with great respect, as if he was looking at the god of fortune. The elixir was sold at a sky-high price of 3 billion yuan in one night, and the auction house alone took a total of 500 million yuan. With such a high profit, the bonus given by the company was enough to make him laugh even in his dreams. "Mr. Qin, would you like to pay in cash or by bank transfer?" Qin Haodong took out a bank card and handed it to him, saying, "Transfer 2 billion yuan to the account just now, and then transfer another 500 million yuan to this card." "Okay, Mr. Qin. I'll handle it for you right away." Wu Mufeng was very efficient. It only took him a few minutes to transfer the 2 funds. Qin Haodong and the other 2 walked out of the auction house. Wei Yanran looked at him with admiration in her eyes. "Haodong, should we go now?" From the beginning to the present, she had been thinking about eloping with the man in front of her. Looking at her best friend being intimate with Qin Haodong, Hua Mingrui always had a kind of inexplicable envy in her heart. Although she tried her best to restrain this feeling, she could not control it at all. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Don't worry. Miss Mingrui has helped me so much. I have to treat her to a midnight snack." He felt that it was not serious to call her Miss Hua, so he changed it to Miss Mingrui. Hua Mingrui said, "Haodong, just call me Mingrui. And it's not a big deal for me to help you tonight. We're friends, so you don't have to be so polite. You've helped me so much. It's only right for you to have a meal with me. Tell me, where is the best food?" It was already midnight. Wei Yanran had not eaten at night, so she felt a little hungry. She said, "Let's go to the Taotai restaurant. The food there is delicious." "Okay, let's go there to eat." Hearing this name, Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. Wasn't this the restaurant that Han Wuji was going to use as a dowry for Han Jieyu today? Hua Mingrui did not want to be separated from Qin Haodong so soon, so she naturally had no objection. The three of them got into his car again and drove to the Taotai restaurant. After arriving at the restaurant, the three of them asked for a private room. After entering the room, Qin Haodong took off the hat and sunglasses on his face. It made him very uncomfortable to wear these things. Wei Yanran did the same. She took off the hat and sunglasses on her head and revealed her original face. The three of them called the waiter and ordered a few special dishes and a bottle of red wine. After the waiter finished writing down the menu, he turned around and walked out of the private room. The moment he opened the door, a young woman in her 20s happened to pass by the door. The woman glanced at the room inadvertently and immediately stopped when she saw Wei Yanran. She pushed the door open and walked into the private room. Yanran, I didn't expect to meet you here. I'm really surprised. The woman came to Wei Yanran's side as she spoke. It seemed that the two of them were very familiar with each other. Han Meilin, you're also eating here. Wei Yanran was obviously a little surprised to meet this woman. She looked a little nervous and a little unnatural. Hua Mingrui sat on the other side of Qin Haodong. She was very familiar with Wei Yanran and also knew the woman in front of her. She whispered in Qin Haodong's ear, this woman is from the Han family. Although she is also a direct descendant, she is not favored. She and Yanran are classmates, but their relationship is not as good as it seems. This woman is jealous of Yanran's appearance and talent. She is jealous of her status in the Wei family and the title of the three beauties in the capital. Every time we meet, she tries her best to ridicule Yanran, as if this can satisfy her vanity. Qin Haodong nodded slightly. He had seen too many people like this. They were not good enough, but they tried their best to belittle others. At this time, Han Meilin said to Wei Yanran with a fake smile, Yanran, I just heard that the Wei family has arranged a good marriage for you. As your old classmate, I really want to congratulate you. She said congratulations, but her face was full of sarcasm and gloating. Thinking of the marriage, Wei Yanran's face quickly turned cold. Han Meilin, what do you mean? I don't mean anything. Didn't I say that I'm congratulating you? After seeing Wei Yanran's reaction, Han Meilin seemed to be very happy. She said with a smile, I heard that the man already has a girlfriend. The dignified eldest daughter of the Wei family actually wants to be a concubine after marrying him. Even so, it seems that he is not very willing. He hasn't given a definite answer until now. Women are doomed. Yanran, we have been classmates for so many years. Should I be happy for you? Or should I feel sorry for you? Speaking of this, she sighed in a strange tone, it's not good for a woman to be too outstanding. She can't control her own fate. Maybe she will be taken away by her family for a marriage alliance. Wei Yanran was so angry that her whole body trembled. Although she was full of talent, it was obvious that she was no match for this mean woman in a quarrel. At this moment, a cold voice said, you're right. Only outstanding and beautiful women can marry. An ugly woman like you doesn't even have the qualifications. Chapter 698. Although Han Meilin was not favored by the Han family, she used to be superior wherever she went because she was the eldest daughter of the Han family. Now someone publicly said that she was ugly, which was like stepping on a cat's tail. She immediately screamed, who is it? Who dares to say that to me? After entering the door, she had been focusing on attacking Wei Yanran and only noticed Qin Haodong next to her. After seeing the two of them holding hands tightly, she suddenly felt as if she had discovered a new continent. She screamed excitedly, Wei Yanran, you usually pretend to be a saint and say that you want to pursue art. But in the end, you still secretly keep a gigolo. Wei Yanran was shocked and was about to pull her hand back, but Qin Haodong held it tightly. Ugly people always make trouble. I am Yanran's boyfriend. What's wrong? Is there anything wrong with that? In fact, although Han Meilin was not a stunning beauty, she was not ugly. It was a pity that she was standing in front of Wei Yanran and Hua Mingrui. There would be no harm if there was no comparison. This was a well-known saying. Standing in front of these two stunning beauties, she looked much uglier. You gigolo, what right do you have to talk to me like this? After being called ugly by Qin Haodong, Han Meilin was finally about to explode. But suddenly, she saw the sunglasses and hats thrown aside by the two people. The anger on her face was instantly replaced by excitement. She shouted again, Wei Yanran, no wonder I couldn't get through to you. It turns out that you are going to elope with someone. Ever since she got the news that Wei Yanran was going to be married by the Wei family, she was extremely excited as if she had been injected with chicken blood. She had been calling Wei Yanran and wanted to gloat as soon as possible to make herself happy. But unexpectedly, Wei Yanran's phone was always turned off and she could not get through until she met her here just now. Hearing that her thoughts were exposed, Wei Yanran immediately said nervously, I didn't. Han Meilin, don't talk nonsense. How dare you? Han Meilin was so excited that her cheeks turned red. She did not have time to attack Qin Haodong next to her and said to Wei Yanran. As the young miss of the Wei family, you're already engaged, yet you're still being intimate with a pretty boy here. I couldn't get through to you this afternoon, and I couldn't find you. You still haven't come home, and there are these hats and sunglasses next to you. Who would believe that you didn't elope? What does this have to do with you? Qin Haodong frowned. This person was so annoying. He just came here to have a meal, but he didn't expect to meet such a big fly. He said impatiently, I didn't expect that you're not only ugly but also annoying. Get out of here and remember to close the door. You're someone who relies on your face to make a living. How dare you talk to me like that? After being ridiculed by Qin Haodong again and again, Han Meilin was furious. Her face became ferocious and horrible. I'll tell you today that this has something to do with me, and it's a big deal. I'll report you to the Wei family later. If the Wei family finds out that you eloped with their young miss, they will definitely turn you into a eunuch. After saying so much, she seemed to be still angry. She turned around and shouted at Wei Yanran, aren't you the most favored young miss of the Wei family? Now you're going to elope with a pretty boy. I'll see how you're going to face others. When the master of the Wei family comes, I'll see how you're going to explain yourself. Maybe you'll be kicked out of the Wei family. Let's see how you can pretend to be one of the three beauties in the capital in front of me in the future. Qin Haodong shook his head slightly. It seemed that jealousy was really a terrible thing. It could actually burn a person like this. He really didn't want to see this hateful woman's performance. He stood up and kicked her out of the room. Han Meilin didn't expect Qin Haodong to be so fierce. He kicked her more than 10 meters away and directly kicked her out of the private room. She got up at the door in embarrassment, pointed to the room and shouted, pretty boy, Wei Yanran, just you wait. The master of the Wei family is having dinner here. I'll go and report it now. I'll see where you can run to. After that, she ran to the side like a wisp of smoke. Seeing Han Meilin running away, Wei Yanran suddenly became nervous. She pulled Qin Haodong and said, run quickly. You won't be able to leave when my father comes. Qin Haodong said with a smile, why should I run? Even if I have to leave, we have to go together and we'll leave after dinner. Wei Yanran was so anxious that she stamped her feet and said, Haodong, you don't know how terrible my family is. If my father finds out about us, he will kill you. I'm a member of the Wei family. They won't do anything to me. Run quickly. Hua Mingrui also said nervously, yes, this is not the time to be brave. You'd better go quickly, or it will be too late. I won't go. Qin Haodong said happily, don't be nervous. I'm here. Alas. I can't explain it to you in a short time. Hua Mingrui thought for a moment and said, well, the only way now is to say that you are my boyfriend and have nothing to do with Yanran. I hope we can deceive the master of the Wei family. Wei Yanran could not care about anything else at this time. She nodded and said, "That's a good idea. When my father comes later, I'll say that you are Mingrue's boyfriend. Maybe we can get away with it." "Okay, I'll do whatever you say." Of course, Qin Haodong did not take Wei Jun seriously. At this time, the waiter began to serve the dishes. He said to the two of them, "Hurry up and eat. The dishes will be cold later." After that, he took the two girls to sit down at the table, picked up the chopsticks and began to eat. Wei Yanran and Hua Mingrue were usually calm and elegant, but at this moment, they were so nervous that they could not eat. They looked at the door from time to time, afraid that Wei Jun's would suddenly appear. In a private room and not far from them, Wei Jun's, the master of the Wei family, Han Wuji, the master of the Han family, and Zhao Cangqiong, the master of the Zhao family, were sitting together drinking. As soon as the auction was over, the three of them came here one step earlier than Qin Haodong. As the masters of the top aristocratic families, the relationship between the three of them was not like that of ordinary people. They were friends and enemies, partners and competitors. Everything they did was based on interests. The reason why the three of them got together today was that there was only one topic, and that was Qin Haodong, a new force in the capital. Han Wuji said, "I heard that the old fox, Qin Zhan Ao, was arrogant today. He did not come in person, but sent Qin Feiyu, a junior. As a result, the relationship between him and Qin Haodong became very tense. Qin Zhanlong went to support his son and grandson. As a result, all three of them were shaved bald. They were so humiliated. Zhao Cangqiong said, "Qin Haodong is too strong. We can't compete with him at all." Wei Jun said, "In contrast, the Chu family is more tactful and played the emotional card. I heard that Chu Xianyue has promised to go back to celebrate Chu Shanhe's birthday." Han Wuji said, "Now the Tang sect is too strong. It's definitely not a wise move to fight against them. In contrast, our marriage strategy is very good." Zhao Cangqiong said, "It's a pity that Qin Haodong has not given us a clear answer so far. I don't know what he's thinking." Wei Jun said, "What do your granddaughters think about this marriage? Do they agree?" Zhao Cangqiong said, "Qin Gu is very unhappy, but this is a big matter of the family. How can she, a junior, object?" Han Wuji said, "My granddaughter didn't say anything, but she has always been proud. I guess she must be very unhappy. But as Brother Zhao said, it's not up to them to decide this kind of thing." Wei Jun sighed. Wei Yanran's reaction was a little beyond his expectation. This girl sneaked out and there had been no news of her. Even her phone was turned off. This was unimaginable before. Zhao Cangqiong said, "Master Wei, how is Yanran's reaction?" As soon as he finished speaking, before Wei Jun could answer, the door opened and Han Meilin rushed in. Seeing that it was a member of the Han family, Han Wuji's face darkened and he said, "How dare you? Who let you in?" "Grandpa, I have something important to tell you." Han Meilin was panting and looked extremely miserable. Her hair was disheveled and there was a big footprint on her snow-white dress. Han Wuji said discontentedly, "What's the matter? Can't you see that I'm entertaining guests?" "Grandpa, I just saw Wei Yanran. She is eating with a gigolo in the next room. It seems that they are going to elope after the meal." As soon as she said this, the expressions of the three people changed and the atmosphere in the room became tense. Han Wuji and Zhao Cangqiong both looked at Wei Jun. Wei Jun frowned. Although Wei Yanran opposed this marriage, she had always been clean and had never been involved with any man. Why did she suddenly want to elope with someone? He said to Han Meilin, "Are you mistaken?" "Impossible, Grandpa Wei. I have been classmates with Yanran for so many years. I can't be mistaken. I was talking to her in the private room just now. And look at the footprint on my body. It was kicked by that gigolo. That guy looks extremely arrogant. Speaking of this, Han Meilin's mouth was full of pride. Over the years, she had always been jealous that Wei Yanran was more outstanding than her, had a higher status than her family and was more beautiful than her. Today, she finally found a chance to trample on her. As a member of a big family, she knew how much the 7 great families hated eloping. According to the family rules, Wei Yanran would not be able to make a comeback in this life. Maybe she would end up like Chu Xianyue and be expelled from the family. Seeing Han Meilin's embarrassed appearance, Wei Junce believed that what she said was true and his heart suddenly sank. He had just proposed to Qin Haodong, but his granddaughter ran away with him. If the news reached Qin Haodong's ears, who knew if he would bring 4 9th-level Supreme Power Masters to the Wei family? He could not afford the consequences. Thinking of this, he suddenly stood up and said, "Girl, where are they? Take me to have a look." "Grandpa Wei, it's not far from here. I'll take you there right away. We have to hurry, or they may run away." If it were not for Wei Junce's feelings, Han Meilin would have laughed out loud, as if she had already seen Wei Yanran's miserable end. She walked out with Wei Junce excitedly. Zhao Zhangqiong and Han Wuji looked at each other and followed behind. If Wei Yanran really eloped with someone, it would be a good thing for the 2 families. After all, there would be one less competitor. However, the 2 of them were very shrewd, so they hid their joy in their hearts and did not show it. Han Meilin hurriedly rushed to the door of Qin Haodong's private room with the 3 masters. She kicked the door open and rushed in. She pointed inside and shouted, "Grandpa Wei, look, they're here." Chapter 699. Wei Junce looked in the direction of Han Meilin's finger and happened to see Wei Yanran's frightened face. He was so angry that he shouted angrily, "You bastard! Wei Yanran, look what you've done. Grandpa, you've misunderstood. They are all my friends." At this time, Wei Yanran could not care less. She only hoped to protect Qin Haodong and not be blamed by the Wei family. Hua Mingrui also said, "Yes, Grandpa Wei, this is my boyfriend. He has nothing to do with Yanran." "Nonsense, I saw them holding hands just now." Han Meilin shouted and pointed at Qin Haodong. "Grandpa Wei, look, he's the toy boy." After hearing her shout, not only Wei Junce, but also Han Wuji and Zhao Zhangqiong looked in the direction of her finger. Qin Haodong held the red wine glass in his hand and took a sip slowly. He looked up at them and smiled, "Master Wei, you're so angry. This red wine tastes good. Do you want to have a drink to cool down?" Wei Yanran was so scared that her face turned pale when she saw that he dared to talk to her grandpa like that. She had made up her mind that as long as her grandpa took action, she would protect Qin Haodong at all costs. At this moment, a scene that surprised her appeared. Originally, Wei Junce's face was full of anger as if he was going to devour someone at any time. But now, as if he was performing a magic trick, his face was instantly full of smiles. He said happily, "Mr. Qin, I didn't expect to see you here. It seems that you and Yanran are developing well. I won't disturb you anymore." When he saw that the so-called eloper was Qin Haodong, Wei Junce was overjoyed. The joy in his heart could not be described in words. If it were not for his identity, he would have jumped up immediately. Originally, he was worried that Qin Haodong did not give him a reply, but now he was with his granddaughter. This kind of good thing was like a big pie falling from the sky. Han Wuji and Zhao Zhangqiong were originally watching the fun, but when they saw Qin Haodong and Wei Yanran together, they were shocked at first and then felt jealous. They did not expect that the Wei family had made such great progress. It seemed that Qin Haodong was not lustful. He didn't agree because he didn't see his granddaughter's face. It seemed that he had to hurry up and let his granddaughter meet him as soon as possible. Han Meilin stood at the side, happily waiting to watch the show. Who knew that Wei Junce would suddenly turn silent? On the contrary, his face was full of smiles. What was going on? She cried out, "Grandpa Wei, what's wrong with you? Can't you see this pretty boy? Yen Ran is already engaged, but she's still fooling around with a gigolo. You have to take care of this matter." Wei Junce glared at her in disgust and said coldly, "Han girl, you're meddling too much." Han Meilin was confused. She didn't know what the problem was. Not only her, but Wei Yanran and Hua Mingrui were also confused. All the measures they had prepared before were useless. Not only was Wei Junce not angry, but he was also very polite to Qin Haodong. Judging from his expression, it seemed that he wanted them to go to bed as soon as possible. At this time, Zhao Cangqiong and Han Wuji could not stand behind. They took 2 steps forward and said to Qin Haodong, "Hello, Mr. Qin." At this time, the 3 girls in the room were even more shocked. The 2 family masters actually greeted Qin Haodong. What was going on? Could it be that he was dreaming? The restaurant belonged to the Han family and Han Wuji was the host. He said, "I didn't expect to see you here. Would you like to have a drink with us?" Qin Haodong raised his head, glanced at Han Meilin next to him and said to Han Wuji, "Master Han, is this woman from your Han family?" "Yes, Mr. Qin, this is one of my granddaughters." Qin Haodong said faintly, "Master Han, your granddaughter disappoints me. Not only is she ugly, but she's also very annoying. Is Han Jiayu like her?" "No, of course not." Han Wuji hurriedly promised, "Jiayu is the most outstanding girl in our Han family. She is beautiful, intelligent, considerate and well-educated. She is 100 times better than Han Meilin. No, there is no comparison between the 2 of them at all. One is in heaven and the other is on earth." Now he was afraid that Qin Haodong would break off the engagement in a rage, and then all the efforts of the Han family would be in vain. "Well then." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "But I don't want to see this woman in the capital again, and I don't want to have anything to do with her." "I understand, Mr. Qin. I will definitely make you satisfied." After saying that, Han Wuji immediately left the private room, followed by Wei Junce and Zhao Cangqiong. After going out, he shouted at Han Meilin with a face full of anger, "You be ****, come here." "Grandpa," Han Meilin looked at Han Wuji in horror. She did not know who this young man was and why her grandfather was so in awe of him. At the same time, she also had a bad feeling that she had poked a hornet's nest today. Han Wuji said with a gloomy face, "Don't call me grandpa. From today on, you have nothing to do with the Han family. And immediately buy a plane ticket and disappear from the capital. Never come back." "No, Grandpa. I'm your granddaughter." Han Meilin was completely frightened. Although she was not very favored in the Han family, she was still Han Wuji's granddaughter. How could she be expelled from the Han family because of that gigolo boy's words? Moreover, she was not allowed to step into the capital for the rest of her life. This kind of punishment was too heavy. If she had known this earlier, she would not have dared to provoke Wei Yanran, let alone touch that gigolo boy. Han Wuji looked at Han Meilin with disgust. This ignorant girl almost caused a great disaster for the Han family today. In the face of the interests of the family, not to mention a granddaughter, no matter how important the person was. He waved to 2 bodyguards and said, "Drag her out. Don't disturb the distinguished guest's meal." Without saying a word, the 2 bodyguards dragged Han Meilin out of the hotel. The young lady of the Han family, who had just been thinking about how to trample on others, had now become a prisoner. The moment the door was closed, Wei Yanran and Hua Mingrui looked at Qin Haodong at the same time. They said in unison, "What the hell is going on?" Qin Haodong smiled, took Wei Yanran's hand and pulled her to his side. "It's very simple. I'm the rough man you hate. Your grandfather came to propose marriage. Now I've decided to agree to this marriage. From now on, you are my woman. You. Although Wei Yanran had some clues just now, she was still too surprised to speak. She had never thought that the man of her dreams, who was proficient in all kinds of arts, was the one who had proposed marriage to her grandfather. She had always longed to marry the medical sage. Her grandfather had proposed marriage to the medical sage, but she wanted to elope with him. It was ridiculous. After figuring all this out, her heart was instantly filled with great joy. The person she was going to marry was the person she liked the most. Was there anything happier than this? Hua Mingrui was also shocked by all this. She did not expect that the two Qin Haodong were the same person. Qin Haodong looked at Wei Yanran and said with a smile, "How about it? Do we still want to elope? It turns out to be you. You bad guy, why didn't you tell me earlier?" Wei Yanran threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms and kept hitting his chest with her little fists. Qin Haodong patted her on the back and said, "Isn't it good? It's so exciting. You bad guy, you almost scared me to death just now." Wei Yanran patted her towering chest and said. It was true. At the moment when Wei Junce appeared, she thought that the love of her life was going to die. Looking at the intimate appearance of the two of them, Hua Mingrui's eyes were extremely complicated. She was happy for her best friend, but at the same time, she was full of envy and a little jealousy. After this incident, the three of them were not in the mood to eat. They had a simple meal and left the hotel. Qin Haodong first sent Hua Mingrui home and then said to Wei Yanran, "Where are you going?" "I'll give you a ride." Wei Yanran said coquettishly, "I don't want to go. I want to be with you." "Aren't you going home? Aren't you afraid that your grandfather will be worried?" Wei Yanran sighed and said, "My grandfather. I'm afraid he's worried that I won't be with you." "Then do you want to go back to the Tang sect with me?" Wei Yanran nodded hard and said, "I'll go wherever you go. We'll never be separated." "Well, let's go home together." Qin Haodong was about to call a taxi when Wei Yanran said, "Don't take a taxi. Let's walk back together. I used to be very envious when I saw other couples walking side by side on the street. Today, I can finally realize my wish." After that, she held Qin Haodong's arm tightly and leaned her head on his shoulder. She looked up at the vast sea of stars and sighed, "Life is so wonderful. I've always been eager to see you, but I didn't expect it to be in this way." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Why did you object to this marriage before? Isn't it good to marry a 9th-level Supreme Power Master?" Wei Yanran said, "I don't like fighting and killing. What's the point of marrying a rough man?" Qin Haodong smiled mischievously and said, "In fact, it's good for a woman to marry a rough man. But we've never met before. I'm very curious. How do you know that I'm a rough man?" "You're a bad guy." Wei Yanran had never been made such a joke before. Her cheeks suddenly turned red and she punched Qin Haodong in the chest. The two of them laughed for a while and Qin Haodong said, "In fact, art is beautiful, but strength is more important. Only when a person has strength can he win the respect of others and protect the things he wants to protect. For example, today, if I didn't have enough strength, I'm afraid I would have been a corpse by now. It's impossible for me to walk here with you. Similarly, if you have enough strength and you're a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, you can control everything about yourself, including marriage. You won't become a tool for your family to unite by marriage." Wei Yanran nodded thoughtfully and said, "You're right. I didn't think so much before. It's a pity that I'm 20 years old now and I've missed the best age to practice martial arts. It's impossible for me to improve my strength even if I want to." Qin Haodong held her in his arms, stared into her eyes and said, "If you want, I can help you in a very simple, funny and happy way." "Really? You're not lying to me, are you?" Wei Yanran blinked her big eyes and said, "I heard that practicing martial arts is very hard. How can it be as good as you say? Otherwise, there would be masters everywhere in the capital." I'm different. I can help you reach the 9th level supreme power realm in a very short time. Qin Haodong said, as long as you're willing to be my woman, everything else is not a problem. Looking at the handsome face in front of her, Wei Yanran said, I'm willing. I'm willing to do anything for you. After that, she slowly closed her eyes. Qin Haodong naturally knew what he should do at this moment. He looked at the delicate red lips in front of him and kissed them hard. Chapter 700. It was already past midnight when they walked back to the Tang sect. They loved each other and Qin Haodong took Wei Yanran back to his bedroom without any hesitation. It was just an ordinary night for ordinary people, but it was not an ordinary day for Wei Yanran. In the past few hours, her dream had come true. She had completed the process of transforming from a girl to a woman. At the same time, she had also become a 9th level supreme power master from an ordinary person without any foundation. When it was time for breakfast, Qin Haodong took her hand and walked to the dining room. Nailan Wushuang and the others were surprised when they saw Wei Yanran. Yesterday, they had planned to let Qin Haodong pursue the 3 beauties in the capital and control the 3 great families. However, he had brought one back in just one night. Wasn't it a little too fast? Moreover, judging from Wei Yanran's unstable aura, the 2 of them had used the double cultivation initiation method and succeeded in their cultivation. At this time, Chu Xianyue just walked into the dining room. Qin Haodong introduced Wei Yanran to her and said, Mom, this is Yanran, your daughter-in-law. Wei Yanran said shyly, Hello, Auntie. Good. 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 Child, sit down. Chu Xianyue knew Wei Yanran. She did not expect her son to succeed so quickly. Looking at the daughters-in-law in the dining room, she was so happy that she could not close her mouth. Qin Haodong introduced Wei Yanran to the others and then said, Yanran was just an ordinary person before and did not know martial arts. Although she has the cultivation of the 9th level supreme power master now, she knows nothing about martial arts. We need to help her in the future. Hello, everyone. Wei Yanran also stood up and smiled at the crowd. Chu Xianyue said, This child is so beautiful when she smiles. After the meal, Yi Qing pulled Qin Haodong aside and said, You're quite fast. I just created such an opportunity for you and you brought her back. Qin Haodong said with a smile, I can't help it. Your brother is too charming. Don't be so smug. Yi Qing rolled her eyes at him and said, I just contacted Director Chen of the Wuxia Museum. What did he say? Did he agree to my request? Qin Haodong asked. Curator Chen said that as long as one of the 6 sculpted heads in your hands is genuine, he will agree to your request and let you see the sculpted heads in the museum up close. Qin Haodong said, What are you talking about? The 6 bronze capitals in my hands are real. None of them are fake. Yi Qing said, I don't understand this stuff. You'd better talk to the experts in the Wuxia Museum. After the discussion, Qin Haodong put all the 6 bronze heads into the box and rushed to the Wuxia Museum with Zhang Tiniu and the other 2 members of Daddy Security Company. Chen Dongshu was the curator of the Wuxia Museum. Yi Qing called him in the morning and told him that his brother was going to donate 6 bronze sculpted heads. As everyone knew, 8 of the 12 bronze heads were originally in Wuxia. Some time ago, Jiangnan donated a sheep head. Now, there was a dragon head in Taiwan, and the other 8 were kept in the Wuxia Museum. How could her brother still have 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals? Wouldn't that make it 15 bronze heads of the 15 zodiac animals? Therefore, in Chen Dongshu's view, Yi Qing's brother was either playing to the gallery or being cheated. None of the 6 sculpted heads in his hands was genuine. However, the Haodong Group was a first-class financial group in Wuxia. His son was about to graduate from college and was going to work in the Haodong Group. Therefore, he stayed to receive Yi Qing in person. In the reception room of the museum, when he saw that Qin Haodong was so young, he didn't have any hope for this donation. Obviously, he was a young boy who knew nothing. He must have been cheated. Yi Qin introduced Chen Dongxiu and Qin Haodong, and then the three sat down. After a few polite words, Qin Haodong said, "Curator Chen, I have 6 bronze sculpted heads to donate to the Wuxia Museum. Please ask an expert to check them." "There's no need to ask an expert. I can identify ordinary antiques." In Chen Dongxiu's view, there was no need to ask a museum expert to identify these things. He added, "Little Qin, I'm a few years older than you, and I know more about antiques. You must be careful when you first enter this industry, or it's easy to buy fake antiques. But young people like you who always think about Wuxia are worth learning." Qin Haodong was slightly stunned at first, and then he understood. It turned out that this guy didn't regard the things he donated as genuine. He didn't say anything. It was a waste of time to argue about this kind of thing. He asked Zhang Tiniu and the others to put the boxes in front of Chen Dongxiu, and then they opened them one by one. As the curator of the Wuxia Museum, he did some research on antiques. Although he wasn't an expert, he could still tell the authenticity of ordinary antiques at a glance. At the beginning, he was completely careless. He reached out and took out a snake head from the box. When he checked it from head to tail, he became more and more serious. The snake head in his hand was perfect without any flaws. He couldn't help but be secretly surprised. Could it be that the fakes were so real now? Then he took out a bull's head and checked it carefully. There was also a bull's head in the Wuxia Museum. He looked at it for a long time and found that it was exactly the same as the one in front of him. Then he looked at the other 4 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals, but he still couldn't find any flaws. At this time, he had completely put away his contempt and shouted to a secretary next to him, "Xiao Lu, hurry up and ask Dr. Shi to come here." Dr. Shi's name was Shi Jianying. He was the chief cultural relics expert of the Wuxia Museum. Secretary Lu said, "Curator, you forgot that Dr. Shi is hosting an expert exchange meeting." Chen Dongxiu said, "I forgot about that. Hurry up and ask Dr. Shi and all the experts of the exchange meeting to come here. Tell them that there are important things that need to be identified by them." "Yes, Curator. I'll go now." Secretary Lu turned and left. Chen Dongxiu began to play with the bronze heads again, but the result was still the same. He still couldn't find any flaws. About 7 or 8 minutes later, there was the sound of messy footsteps. Secretary Lu came over with a dozen people. The leader was Shi Jianying, the chief expert of the Wuxia Museum. The other dozen people were also antique experts from all over the country. They came to the capital to participate in the exchange meeting. Chen Dongxiu stepped forward and said to the crowd, "There are 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals here. Please take a look at them." "Little Qin! Brother Qin!" With 2 surprised cries, 2 people came out of the crowd. One was Lu Qigong, a professor of cultural relics identification at the University of Shanghai, and the other was Guofeng, the director of the Antique Appraisal Center in Jiangnan. Qin Haodong didn't expect to meet them here, so he quickly stepped forward and greeted them warmly. Lu Qigong said, "Little Qin, I haven't seen you for a while. I didn't expect you to come to the capital. Su Hui has been very unhappy since you left. Call her when you have time." Qin Haodong had a headache when he heard that. He had owed too many love debts recently, so he didn't dare to provoke this little girl. So he secretly left Shanghai without saying goodbye before leaving. Guofeng took Qin Haodong's hand and said excitedly, "Brother Qin, we haven't seen each other for a long time. I didn't expect to meet you here." Chen Dongxiu came over and said, "I didn't expect you 2 experts to know Mr. Qin. Mr. Qin is young and promising. These 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals were donated by him. Please appraise them." At this time, his impression of Qin Haodong had completely changed. He used to think that Qin Haodong was just an ignorant and incompetent rich second generation. Now it seemed that it was not the case at all. Guo Feng said, "Director Chen, these 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals were donated by Brother Qin." Chen Dongshu nodded and said, "Yes." Because the sheep head was personally handed over to the museum some time ago, Chen Dongshu was very respectful to him. Guo Feng said, "If it's donated by Brother Chen, then there's no need to appraise it. They must be authentic." Well, Chen Dongshu almost choked to death by his own saliva. If it wasn't a free donation, he would really think that Guo Feng was hired by Qin Haodong. Seeing his expression, Guo Feng quickly explained, "Director Chen, although Brother Qin is a doctor, his attainments in antique appraisal are very profound, much higher than mine. The sheep head I donated some time ago was won by Brother Qin from the Neon people. He is the real donor." Hearing that the sheep head was donated by Qin Haodong, everyone present suddenly respected him. To be able to donate such a collection worth tens of millions of yuan to the country for free, this kind of character was definitely worthy of respect. Chen Dongshu said awkwardly, "But now Mr. Qin donated 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals. There are 8 in our museum and 1 in Taiwan. There must be 3 fake ones, right?" Guo Feng said without hesitation, "If I had to choose, I think Brother Qin's 6 must be real. Director Guo, I think we'd better appraise them first." It was Shi Jianying who spoke. If Qin Haodong's 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals were real, it meant that at least 2 of them in the museum were fake, which was equivalent to slapping the chief expert in the face. Qin Haodong said, "No problem. Everyone, feel free to appraise them." After he finished speaking, more than a dozen experts present took out their magnifying glasses and white gloves and began to carefully appraise the 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals. Qin Haodong didn't care about it at all. He sat next to Yi Qing, drinking tea and chatting. Soon, half an hour passed. These experts took turns to appraise the 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals at the same time. Chen Dongshu asked, "How is it? Is the appraisal result out?" Shi Jianying licked his dry lips and said in a dry voice, "Director, the preliminary appraisal result is that the 6 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals have no flaws. They are probably authentic." He didn't want to admit this result, but he really couldn't find any flaws on the 6 bronze heads. He couldn't say that they were fake without any basis. Lu Qigong said, "At present, if we want to identify whether these bronze heads are fake or not, we need other special tools. But one thing is certain. Even if these 6 bronze heads are fake, they are definitely valuable fakes." After hearing the opinions of these experts, Chen Dongshu didn't dare to make a hasty decision. He said to Qin Haodong with some embarrassment, "Mr. Qin, we need to further appraise these bronze heads to determine their authenticity." Qin Haodong said, "It doesn't matter. Anyway, I've donated these things to the museum. Can you let me see the other bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals first?" Chapter 701. The Reborn Nanny Dr. Saint. Chapter 701, Breaking the Core and Forming the Nascent Soul. Currently typing, please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 702. After that, Qin Haodong turned around and was about to leave. Ma Wenjue grabbed his arm and said, "You're the medical sage. Why did you leave her here?" Qin Haodong said, "Her injury is too serious. Even the medical sage can't cure her." Ma Wenjue said anxiously, "If you can't cure her, why should I? I'm not the medical sage, so I can't cure her. You have the Kailan holy body. Only your blood can save her life now. It's up to you whether you want to save her or not." After that, Qin Haodong turned around and left the room. "Hey, don't go." As soon as Ma Wenjue finished shouting, Qin Haodong had disappeared. He looked back at Kim Ji-hyun on the bed. He had no choice but to take a dagger and cut his index finger. Then, he dripped the blood into Kim Ji-hyun's mouth. Chin Haodong returned to the hall. His mother was chatting with a young man and a young woman. When she saw him coming in, she said, "Haodong, come here. This is your cousin, Chu Mingli and Chu Ming." Hui. Chin Haodong looked at the two people. The cousin was about 25 or 26 years old, but he looked very calm, and his temperament was very similar to his uncle. The other girl looked like his mother. She was about 17 or 18 years old, and she was also a little beauty. "Cousin, my father asked me to come over and learn from you." Chu Mingli took the initiative to greet Chin Haodong. His words were not arrogant and exaggerated like the children of big families. Chu Minghui looked at Chin Haodong with interest and said mischievously, "Are you cousin Haodong? Dad said you are very capable." One of them was calm and the other was lively. One was active and the other was quiet. However, it could be seen from their eyes that both of them were very pure and had good characters. Chu Minghui and Chu Mingli's martial arts aptitude was also good. Chu Mingli had reached the third level of the Supreme Power Realm. Hui was a second level of the Supreme Power Realm. Chin Haodong greeted the two of them and said, "This is the first time we meet. I'll give you a gift." Chu Mingli said politely, "Cousin, you're welcome." Chu Minghui blinked her big eyes and asked, "Cousin Haodong, what good thing are you going to give me?" "You'll know soon enough." Chin Haodong greeted his mother and then took them to a quiet room. He took out 6 energy-gathering pills from his pocket and gave 3 to each of them. Cousin, eat these 3 pills now. I'll help you raise your cultivation." "Thank you, cousin." There was a flash of excitement and gratitude in Chu Mingli's eyes. Before he came here, Chu Xuanli had told him that his cousin's cultivation was so high that he would definitely get a lot of benefits after he came to the Tang sect. He did not expect that he would come so soon. Chu Minghui shouted happily, "That's great. Cousin, I like this method of taking medicine to improve my cultivation. Otherwise, it's too tiring and annoying to cultivate day after day." In fact, her aptitude was very good, even above Chu Mingli's. Unfortunately, she had always had the temperament of a child and couldn't cultivate in peace, so her cultivation level was slightly lower. The two of them swallowed all 3 restoration pills, then sat cross-legged, held their breaths, and entered into a state of cultivation. Chin Haodong stretched out his hands and put them on the Baihui acupoint on their heads. Then he began to run his genuine qi to help them improve their cultivation. After cultivating to the nascent soul realm, his greenwood genuine qi was much stronger than before, so it was twice the result with half the effort. About half an hour later, he helped the two of them digest all the power of the 3 energy-gathering pills. The two of them also broke through the bottleneck one after another and rose 3 levels in a row. Chu Mingli reached the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Chu Ming also reached the 5th level of the Supreme Power Realm. "Thank you, cousin." After feeling his strength, Chu Mingli was ecstatic. He originally thought that it was very valuable for this cousin to help him break through a bottleneck. He did not expect that he would rise 3 levels in a row. At this time, he looked at Chin Haodong with gratitude and a trace of admiration in his eyes. This cousin was much younger than him, but his cultivation had really reached the divine level. It was simply unimaginable that he could make so many breakthroughs in a short period of time. Chu Minghui also said cheerfully, "Cousin Haodong, you're really amazing. It seems that with you, I don't have to practice hard anymore." Chin Haodong also liked this little girl very much. He reached out and patted her on the head and said, "Although it's very fast to improve your cultivation with pills, hard cultivation is still indispensable. Otherwise, it's easy to cause your foundation to be unstable, so don't think about being lazy in the future." Chu Mingli said to his sister, "Did you hear that? Cousin Haodong has said so. Don't always think about opportunistic tricks in the future." The little girl stuck out her tongue and said, "I see. I'll listen to you in the future. Qin Haodong returned to the living room with the two of them. At this time, Hu Shaoxian came over mysteriously and handed him a big red invitation card. Whose invitation is this? Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, the beauty has an appointment. You'll know when you see it. Qin Haodong opened the invitation card. It was an invitation to a ball. The address was a place called Number 5 Mansion. The name of the name was Zhao Qinggu. How is it? Are you surprised? Are you happy? Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, Zhao Qinggu loves to dance. She is known as Little Zhao Fian in the capital. You have to be careful this time. Qin Haodong smiled and saw that the time on the invitation card was 9:00 in the evening. It was just getting late, so there was still time. He put the invitation card in his pocket and walked out of the door. He took out his mobile phone to check the location of Number 5 Mansion. On the way, he passed by the Yan family's manor. He hesitated for a moment and decided to go to the Yan family first to see how Yan Feifei was doing. His feelings for Yan Feifei were very complicated. On the one hand, based on a man's instinct, he had to be responsible for this woman. On the other hand, because of his parents, he always felt that Yan Feifei's identity was a little embarrassing, so he had never come to meet her. After returning to the capital this time, there had been no news of Yan Feifei, so he wanted to go to the Yan family to have a look. With his current level of cultivation, the Yan clan's defense was practically non-existent. Without alerting anyone, he quietly snuck into the manor. The Yan family's manor was very big. Qin Haodong did not know where Yan Feifei lived, but this was not a problem for him. Although he did not use the sword to fly, after his cultivation reached the nascent soul realm, the speed of the divine god's legs was amazing. Soon, he went around more than half of the Yan family's manor and finally stopped in front of a 2-story building. He felt Yan Feifei's aura from this small building. At the same time, there were more than a dozen supreme power guards outside. It seemed that this should be the place where Yan Feifei cultivated in seclusion. After confirming that the person he was looking for was inside, Qin Haodong's figure disappeared from where he was and appeared in the small building a few seconds later. This small building was extremely clean and elegant. In the middle of the room, Yan Feifei was sitting cross-legged. The aura on her body was constantly changing. It seemed that she was breaking through the bottleneck of the saint stage. No wonder there had been no news of her these days. It turned out that she had been cultivating in seclusion. He stood there quietly and looked at Yan Feifei in front of him. Her delicate cheeks were extremely beautiful. It seemed that time had not left any trace on her. It was impossible to tell that she was a woman in her 30s. He used his spirit to feel her aura. Although Yan Feifei's aura was strong, there was still a little gap between her and the bottleneck of the saint stage. It was possible that she would fail again this time. It seemed that he still had to help her. Qin Haodong took out 3 spirit culturing pills and a saint pill and put them in front of Yan Feifei. Then he took out a pen and paper and told her what to pay attention to in breaking through the bottleneck. Finally, he signed off with the words, "Considerate man." After doing all this, he floated away. He believed that it would not be long before there would be one more saint stage master in the capital. Mansion number 5 was a private club belonging to the Zhao family. It looked ordinary on the outside, but in fact, the decoration inside was extremely luxurious. This was a gift from Zhao Tsangqiong to Zhao Qinggu. Zhao Qinggu also liked to stay here. She loved dancing and often held private parties here. At this moment, Zhao Qinggu was sitting in her room in a daze. Yesterday, after Zhao Tsangqiong came back from the Taotai Hotel, he immediately talked to her and asked her to get in touch with Qin Haodong as soon as possible. She must win his favor and then marry him. She was extremely disgusted with the marriage arranged by her family. As a woman from a big family, she knew that her marriage should be decided by her family. However, she had already been engaged to Yan Zicheng from the Yan family. Now she broke off the engagement and married someone else, which made her feel very uncomfortable. From the bottom of her heart, she did not have any special feelings for Yan Zicheng, but her only hobby in life was dancing. Yan Zicheng was good at dancing. Although he was far from her standard, he danced much better than others in the circle of the aristocratic families in the capital. Women had to get married after all. Since there was no Mr. Right, she could only compromise and agree to marry Yan Zicheng. She was already very wronged. Even so, her family still broke up her marriage with Yan Zicheng. It was said that the person who made the new engagement was a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, but so what? She liked dancing, not martial arts. However, this time her grandfather had made a strict request that she had to please Qin Haodong and she had to do it quickly. Zhao Qingwu had no choice but to send an invitation to Qin Haodong and invite him to attend the ball today. However, her purpose today was not to please Qin Haodong, but to let him see her dancing skills and then retreat. If Qin Haodong could take the initiative to withdraw from the engagement, it would be the best. At least she would have another choice. At this time, the door opened and Yan Zicheng came in from outside. Qingwu, it's almost time. I think that guy hasn't come yet. It's very likely that he has been frightened by us. When it came to dancing skills, Yan Zicheng was also very confident. Among these young talents in the upper class, no one was as outstanding as him. He knew that Zhao Qingwu's thoughts were very much in agreement with him. He thought that as long as Qin Haodong came, he would definitely be able to defeat Qin Haodong in terms of dancing skills even if his cultivation was inferior to Qin Haodong's. Come on, let's go out. At this moment, Zhao Qingwu's mood was extremely complicated. She hoped that Qin Haodong could keep the appointment, but at the same time, she did not want to see him. A fountain square was built in the middle of the club. The grass here was green and there were all kinds of lights on both sides. This was Zhao Qingwu's favorite dance floor. Qingwu, I think that guy doesn't dare to come. Let's dance first. After saying that, Yan Zicheng made a gesture of invitation. All right then. Zhao Qingwu stretched out her white-gloved hand and put it on Yan Zicheng's hand. Then they walked into the dance floor leisurely. The two of them danced to the music. Zhao Qingwu was not very tall. She was about 1.65 meters tall, but she had an excellent figure. When she danced, she was like an elf. She was light, agile, graceful, and very spiritual. No wonder she was called Little Zhao Fian. It was a pity that Yan Zicheng's dancing skills were much worse, so Zhao Feiwu could not perform to the fullest, which was also a big regret in her heart. Chapter 703. The two of them had danced to a very high level, bringing a shocking sense of beauty to the audience. Today, Zhao Qingwu had invited many young people from aristocratic families who loved dancing here. After the song ended, these people cheered. Yan Zicheng's face was full of pride. In the whole capital, he was the only one who was qualified to be Zhao Qingwu's dance partner. However, there was a flash of loneliness in Zhao Qingwu's eyes. As a master who was very good at dancing, she had neither a good opponent nor an excellent dance partner. She could not be happy. As the saying goes, a master is lonely. That was how she felt now. When the two of them walked out of the dance floor, they suddenly saw a tall and straight figure standing beside them with a faint smile on his face. Zhao Qingwu's heart skipped a beat. Although she had never seen this person before, she could guess his identity. Qin Haodong was finally here. Yan Zicheng also saw Qin Haodong. His proud smile suddenly disappeared and his face turned into hostility. Hello, Miss Zhao. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. Seeing this handsome face, Zhao Qingwu could not help but be absent-minded. She had to admit that this person was too handsome, much more handsome than Yan Zicheng. But then she shook her head. What was the use of being handsome? What she pursued was the highest level of dancing. It was useless to be a handsome vase who could not dance. Before Zhao Qingwu could speak, Yan Zicheng said provocatively, "Qin Haodong, you saw my dance just now. Do you dare to compete with me?" Qin Haodong ignored him and turned to Zhao Qingwu and said, "Miss Qingwu, are you lonely?" After he said that, the people around him burst into an uproar. In their eyes, Qin Haodong's words were very frivolous. It was simply flirting. Yan Zicheng said angrily, "Qin, what did you say? You're too noisy. Get lost." Qin Haodong felt that he was too annoyed. He waved his hand gently and an invisible force pushed him 7 or 8 meters away. Yan Zicheng was so angry that his face turned red, but he did not dare to say anything. At this moment, he was much sober. The person in front of him was a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, who was at the same level as his aunt, Yan Feifei. He could not afford to provoke him. Zhao Qingwu's face darkened. She looked at Qin Haodong and said, "What do you mean? Are you showing off in front of me?" "I don't mean anything. I just don't like to be disturbed when I'm talking." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Miss Qingwu, but I can see that you are not happy." Zhao Qingwu was shocked. She knew that only she knew her secret. Of her own. "You can dance." Zhao Qingwu was shocked. She was the only one who knew her secret. How did this person see through it? "Are you saying that you can dance better than me?" Qin Haodong frowned, glanced at him and said, "Didn't Yan Fenwu teach you that it's impolite to interrupt others when they are talking? If you disturb me and Miss Qingwu again, I don't mind knocking out all your teeth." Yan of Yan Qingwu, as the young master of the Yan family, Yan Zicheng was so angry that his lungs were about to explode when he was scolded in public. However, he still obediently shut his mouth. He knew that the person in front of him would definitely do what he said and would not be polite at all. Zhao Qingwu looked at the man in front of her and said, "Do you know how to dance?" Qin Haodong smiled modestly and said, "I know a little, but I'm much better than some people." Ever since she saw this man, Zhao Qingwu's good impression of him was increasing every second. This man was not only handsome, but also domineering. There was a kind of charming charm in his every movement. If he really knew how to dance, he would be the perfect choice. Thinking of this, she said solemnly, "Then let's have a dance. If you can satisfy me, I'll marry you. If you can't satisfy me, then we'll break off our engagement. It's a deal." Qin Haodong stretched out his right hand like a gentleman and made an inviting gesture. Zhao Qingwu also stretched out her hand, but Qin Haodong took off the 2 white gloves on her hands in an instant and threw them into the trash can next to him. "I know you don't like to be touched by others, but I'm different. I'm your future man, so the gloves must be taken off." Looking at Qin Haodong's domineering eyes, Zhao Qingwu hesitated for a moment and finally gave in. She stretched out her white and tender little hand and put it in his palm. Yan Zicheng, who was next to him, was burning with anger. Zhao Qingwu had been dancing with him for so many years and she had always worn gloves. She did not give him a chance to touch her skin at all. Today was the first time they met, but she let someone else hold her hand. He couldn't help but curse in his heart, B***tch. What a B***tch. However, he only dared to be angry in his heart and did not dare to show it at all. Then he looked at Qin Haodong fiercely. "I don't believe that a bumpkin from another place can dance better than me." He stood there waiting to see Qin Haodong make a fool of himself, but soon his eyes widened. He saw that Qin Haodong's posture was extremely beautiful, and there was a natural feeling in his every move. It seemed that he did it casually, but it was extremely beautiful and natural. It was a perfect fit with Zhao Qingwu's beautiful dance. What the hell is going on? Has this bumpkin practiced dancing before? Yan Zicheng's heart was full of doubts. He did not know that when Qin Haodong was in the cultivation world, he had come into contact with a kind of cultivation method called terpsichore. This kind of terpsichore was a combination of dancing and martial arts. Although it was not the most powerful martial arts skill, it was definitely the most beautiful one. Moreover, after his cultivation reached the saint stage, his every move was in harmony with heaven and earth and in line with the way of nature. Under the superposition of the two, Qin Haodong's dance was not only 100 times better than Yan Zicheng's, but also not inferior to Zhao Qingwu's. At first, Zhao Qingwu was quite surprised. She did not expect Qin Haodong to be so proficient in dancing. After getting used to it, she was ecstatic. She devoted herself to the dance without any distractions and performed the graceful dance to the fullest. The passionate dance of the two was really beautiful. In addition to the music, everyone else at the scene held their breath and was deeply fascinated by the dance in front of them. Zhao Feiwu's dancing skills were well known. She was known as Little Zhao Fian in the capital. However, with Qin Haodong as her dance partner, she performed far better than usual today. Her figure was graceful, her dance was graceful, and her expression was beautiful. It could be seen that Yan Zicheng had indeed lowered her level before. Qin Haodong's performance was also far beyond everyone's expectations. No one expected that this young man would perform so well. No one compared him with Yan Zicheng, because there was really no comparison between the two. Just when everyone was fascinated by the visual feast in front of them, Qin Haodong took Zhao Fian's arm and gently dragged her in his palm. Then he continued to dance. Qin Haodong's dance was vigorous and powerful. He was heroic and full of masculinity. Zhao Qingwu did not stop at all. She danced gracefully and her figure was enchanting. She showed the feminine beauty of a woman incisively and vividly, which complemented Qin Haodong and Zhao Qingwu below. The two of them, one up and one down, seemed to dance separately, but in fact, they were in perfect harmony. Every movement was full of beauty. The onlookers opened their mouths wide. It was said that Zhao Fian could dance on the palm of a strong man. But that was only a legend. After all, no matter how light Zhao Fian's body was, she still weighed 70 or 80 kilograms. It was impossible for a person to hold her and dance alone. But everything in front of them was displayed in front of them. They really saw what it meant to be a swallow on the palm. Zhao Qingwu's mood fluctuated from the initial shock to the final joy to the current carefree mood. After dancing for so many years, she had never been as carefree as she was today. No matter how beautiful her dance was or how difficult her movements were, Qin Haodong could perfectly fit in with her and dance with her gracefully, complementing each other. Zhao Fian had always been her idol. She had also dreamed that one day she could perform the miracle of dancing on the palm, but it had always been a beautiful dream. She did not expect that it would come true today. At this moment, she suddenly felt her body become light, and her whole body floated up. 3 meters, 5 meters, and finally flew up to a height of more than 10 meters. Although she was shocked, she had inexplicable trust in the man she had met for the first time. She did not panic at all and still danced in the air. After throwing Zhao Qingwu into the air, amidst everyone's exclamations, Qin Haodong rose into the air and took Zhao Qingwu's slender hand. The two of them spun in the air and stretched out their dancing postures. Dancing with heaven and earth and being in harmony with nature was the highest realm of dancing. Zhao Qingwu did not expect that Qin Haodong could take her to such a high realm. She had never reached such a height before, and now she was completely fascinated. The two of them were like two butterflies slowly flying in the air, slowly falling, and finally slowly landing on the ground. Qin Haodong gently held Zhao Feiwu's waist and held her in his arms with one arm. They looked at each other and could hear each other's breath. In this atmosphere and this artistic conception, if they did not kiss each other, they would feel sorry for the audience around them. Kiss, kiss, the onlookers cheered wildly, as if at this moment, this was what the two of them should be doing the most. Zhao Feiwu's cheeks were flushed. Through the dance just now, she had been completely smitten by Qin Haodong. She knew that she could never leave this man in this life. Looking at the handsome face in front of her, she slowly closed her eyes and moved her red lips, waiting for that moment to come. Of course, Qin Haodong would not be polite in front of the beauty. He hugged Zhao Qingwu and kissed her passionately. "Let go. Let go of me." Yan Zicheng, who was next to him, could no longer control the anger in his heart. Even though he had an engagement with Zhao Qingwu, he had not even held hands with her in the real sense. Today, Zhao Qingwu saw Qin Haodong for the first time, and they kissed. How could he bear it? He was burning with jealousy. He rushed over desperately and reached out to pull Zhao Qingwu. But before he could touch Zhao Qingwu's arm, Qin Haodong's big foot had kicked him in the lower abdomen. Yan Zicheng, like a kite with a broken string, suddenly flew out and then fell heavily on the lawn. Zhao Qingwu ended her first kiss. Her cheeks were flushed. She looked at Qin Haodong shyly, then turned her head and said to Yan Zicheng, who had just gotten up, "We have nothing to do with each other anymore. From today on, I'm Qin Haodong's woman." Yan Zicheng had just been hit physically, and now he was hit mentally. He shouted crazily, "B*TCH, you B*TCH. You're fickle and ungrateful. Have you forgotten how I used to treat you?" Zhao Qingwu said coldly, "Yan Zicheng, after we got engaged, how many times have you been to the red light district? Do you think I don't know?" Qin Haodong said coldly, "Get out of here, or you won't even have the chance to." Chapter 704. Just you wait. I won't spare you. After saying that, Yan Zicheng got up from the ground and ran out of the door in embarrassment. He did not even have the courage to look back. After he left, the others also knew that it was not suitable for them to stay here anymore, so they also left one after another. 2 minutes later, only Qin Haodong and Zhao Qingwu were left on the huge lawn. The two of them looked at each other affectionately. After a long time, Qin Haodong said, "How is it? I didn't let you down, did I?" Zhao Qingwu gently bit her red lips and said with hatred, "I hate you." Qin Haodong said in surprise, "You hate me? Why?" "I hate you for not appearing earlier. You left me alone for so many years and even got engaged to Yan Zicheng." Qin Haodong reached out and put his arm around her slender waist. "I'm here now. It's not too late. Let's dance again. I'll tell Grandpa later that I won't marry anyone else but you in this life." After that, Zhao Qingwu took Qin Haodong's hand and danced crazily again. In Yan Feifei's room in the Yan family. Yan Feifei slowly opened her eyes and her face was full of disappointment. Although she was full of confidence before breaking through the bottleneck of the holy stage, she still failed in the end. Why? Why couldn't she succeed? She was an extremely competitive woman and had always been eager to break through to the holy stage to prove herself. Suddenly, her expression froze. She saw the 2 bottles of pills in front of her, and then she saw the small note under the pills. "It's him. Is he here?" Yan Feifei grabbed the small note in her hand. When she saw the handwriting on it, her whole body began to tremble. It was really him. He had come to see her. After returning from Shenbao Mountain, Yan Feifei had been looking for that person. She wanted to figure out who her man was. Unfortunately, she had too few clues. She only had a few energy-gathering pills, but she didn't find anything useful. As soon as she saw the name on the signature, a smile appeared on her beautiful face. "Dear man, hurry up and appear. Marry me, okay? I'm so anxious." Since he was already here, why didn't he meet her? Why didn't he take her with him? Yan Feifei let her thoughts run wild. She blushed and was stunned for a long time. Then she carefully read the contents of the note. When she saw the problems Qin Haodong listed when breaking through the bottleneck, she couldn't help but be surprised. What was her man's cultivation? He remembered that on the God Treasure Mountain, his cultivation was far lower than his, which was why he was pushed down. But now, looking at his understanding of breaking through the bottleneck of the saint stage, he must be above me. Could it be that he has already passed this threshold, or is he a disciple of some big sect, and the seniors have experience of breaking through to the saint stage? That must be it. He must be from some hidden sect, but due to some special reasons, it is inconvenient for him to meet me. Yan Feifei confirmed her thoughts and murmured, "Wait for me. I'll come to you after I break through the bottleneck of the holy stage." After saying that, she threw all the pills in front of her into her mouth and once again began to break through the bottleneck of the saint stage. After a few pills entered her mouth, the true qi in her dantian immediately exploded, rushing to her limbs and bones like an avalanche. Yan Feifei calmed down and guided her genuine qi to break through the bottleneck of the saint stage. At the same time, according to Qin Haodong's instructions, she corrected several mistakes in the process of breaking through. About an hour later, the wind and clouds suddenly surged over the Yan family's manor, and the qi of heaven and earth became violent. Although it was not as powerful as Qin Haodong's on the God Treasure Mountain just now, it was still quite shocking. Moreover, the Yan family's manor was located in the suburbs of the capital, far from the barren mountains like the God Treasure Mountain. The unusual atmosphere in the Yan family immediately caused a sensation in the capital. The ninth-level Supreme Power Masters from the other 6 families rose into the air and rushed over. On the Yan family's side, Yan Fengwu slapped the table and stood up. His expression was full of excitement. The Yan family was finally going to have the first saint stage master in the capital. In order to prevent anyone from destroying Yan Feifei's breakthrough, all the masters of the Yan family came out and blocked all the onlookers. When the people who rushed over saw the strange phenomenon in the Yan family's manor, they all sighed. Could it be that Yan Feifei, who was known as the top master in the capital, was finally going to become a saint? About half an hour later, there was a loud bang in the Yan family's manor. The 2-story building where Yan Feifei lived instantly collapsed and was razed to the ground by the violent qi of heaven and earth. Then the wind and clouds dissipated and everything returned to normal. Then a beautiful figure rose into the air. Her feet rose into the air as if she was stepping on stairs. She glanced at the people around her and said in a cold voice, "I, Yan Feifei, have successfully become a saint. Don't watch anymore. Please go back." After that, a huge momentum suddenly burst out from Yan Feifei's body. Although most of the people present were 9th-level Supreme Power Masters, they were still out of breath and retreated one after another. Fortunately, Yan Feifei just wanted to deter everyone. She withdrew her momentum and then disappeared in the air. Only then did everyone come to their senses. But then they realized what they had seen meant. Yan Feifei had really stepped into the threshold of the saint realm. The Yan family was about to rise and soon become the top family in the capital. After confirming that Yan Feifei had successfully broken through the bottleneck of the saint realm, everyone immediately flew away and rushed back to report to their families. For a moment, the whole capital was in chaos. It was said that Qin Zongheng had entered the threshold of the saint realm, but it was just a flash and then disappeared. Yan Feifei, who was in front of everyone, was alive. Compared with the 9th-level Supreme Power Masters of the Tang sect, the saints of the Yan family were naturally more terrifying. In front of the powerful saints, they were not much stronger than ants. Therefore, the moment Yan Feifei broke through the bottleneck of the saint realm, the whole capital changed. No wonder the Yan family didn't go to the Tang sect to express their goodwill. It turns out that they have the confidence. It's great. I heard that Qin Haodong took away Yan Zicheng's woman. I'm afraid the Yan family won't let it go. Things have changed. In the future, the capital will belong to the Yan family. There will no longer be 7 top families, but the Yan family will be the only one, For a time, all the aristocratic families in the imperial capital began to panic, and they all tried to find a way out and countermeasures for the families they belonged to. In the Zhao family, Zhao Qingwu stood in front of Zhao Zhangqiong and said shyly, "Grandpa, Haodong and I love each other now. I'm willing to marry him, and he's also willing to marry me." After hearing his granddaughter's words, Zhao Zhangqiong laughed and said, "Good girl, our Zhao family will count on you in the future." But before he finished speaking, Zhao Canghai and Zhao Zhangtian rushed in from outside. "Master, something bad has happened. Just now, Yan Feifei broke through the bottleneck of the saint realm and became the first saint among the 7 great families in the capital." Although it was said that Qin Zongheng was at the saint realm, everyone had only seen it and did not get the final confirmation, so Zhao Zhangtian automatically ignored it at this time. "What?" Zhao Zhangqiong was shocked by the news. The teacup in his hand fell to the ground and broke into pieces. He had been trying his best to please Qin Haodong and even did not hesitate to break off the engagement with the Yan family. But he did not expect that the situation would change so quickly. There was actually a saint in the Yan family. Things changed so fast that it was really beyond his expectation. In his original plan, even if the Yan family vented their anger on him after breaking off the engagement, they would not be able to do anything to the Zhao family. Because the strength of the two families was about the same. But now the whole situation had changed. Qin Haodong had a saint and it was only a matter of time for him to destroy the Zhao family. He calmed himself down and said to the two of them, "Are you sure that Yan Feifei is now a saint? It can't be hearsay, right?" Zhao Canghai said, "We just saw it with our own eyes. Yan Feifei not only showed the unique ability of the saint realm, but also let us feel her great pressure. This is absolutely true. Yan Feifei is a real saint and she is really too powerful." He still had a lingering fear when he thought of the great power that Yan Feifei had just shown. After confirming the news again, Zhao Zhangtian sat on the sofa dejectedly. After a moment of silence, he said to the two elders, "We just broke off the engagement with the Yan family, and now there is a saint in the Yan family. What do you think we should do?" Zhao Zhangtian said, "Now we can only break off the engagement with the Tang sect and send Qingwu to the Yan family. They will deal with her as they see fit. I hope they can give us a way out for the sake of the marriage alliance. Otherwise, the Zhao family will really be finished this time." Zhao Canghai said, "Yes, we really have no ability to resist in the face of a saint." Hearing that the two were going to send her to the Yan family for a marriage alliance, Zhao Qingwu suddenly turned pale and exclaimed, "No, I won't marry into the Yan family this time no matter what." Zhao Zhangtian said coldly, "Do you want to see our Zhao family destroyed?" Zhao Canghai sighed and said, "Girl, it's not that we don't care about your feelings, but this time the situation is special. If we can't win the forgiveness of the Yan family, our Zhao family will be completely finished this time." "No, I don't care." Zhao Qingwu cried crazily, "Haodong and I love each other. I won't marry anyone else in this life. I won't marry anyone else." Zhao Zhangtian snorted coldly and said, "You don't know how terrible a saint is. If you offend the Yan family, I'm afraid that the Tang sect will no longer exist tomorrow. Who will you marry then?" Zhao Zhangqiong came to his senses and hesitated for a moment before saying, "That's the only way. I'll go to the Tang sect now to break off the engagement." "No, I can't break off the engagement. I'm Qin Haodong's woman when I'm alive and I'll be Qin Haodong's ghost when I die. I'll never marry again in this life." Zhao Zhangqiong's face darkened and he said, "How can you, a woman, interfere in the family's affairs?" After that, he waved his hand and called two servants over. "Take the young lady away and keep a close eye on her. She's not allowed to leave the room without my order." "Grandpa, you can't do this," what else did Zhao Qingwu want to say? However, Zhao Zhangqiong had already strode out of the living room. He called a few family members and hurried to the Tang sect. Now he could only hope to break off the engagement with the Tang sect as soon as possible and make a statement so that he could get the Yan family's forgiveness. In the Wei family, Wei Junce had been in a good mood these 2 days. His granddaughter Yanran had successfully moved into the Tang sect and the marriage had been settled. But when he heard that Yan Feifei had entered the holy stage, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. In particular, Wei Zhengqiuo sent the news that Qin Haodong had just beaten Yan Zicheng in the No. 5 mansion and snatched Xiao Qinggu away, which made him a great enemy of the Yan family. He was so scared that his face turned pale. It seemed that the Tang sect would not be able to escape this time. Under the anger of a saint, Qin Haodong would definitely die without a burial place. Now what he had to do was not to be blamed by the Yan family and get rid of his relationship with the Tang sect. After a little hesitation, he immediately shouted to his family, "Hurry up and prepare a car for me. I'll go to the Tang sect now to break off the engagement and bring Yanran back." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.